What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico. It's Rico and Bot on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Friday night powered by BetUS. Rico, I got a feeling you got some gloating you want to do. The fellas up north got it done. You got something else? What is it?
Listen, I got something to say. First of all, two things got to take place. First of all, you got to restart that intro because I'm used to you hyping me up by giving me the old what? That was just
it was
Friday
weak.
Night Chill Bot. Oh no! You're better than that.
Time out.
I need it again.
You're right. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, take 2. Camera, marker, and what is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Rico and Bot on a Friday night. I'm glad you did that, Rico. We needed to set the tone better.
You need to set the tone.
Take 2 was the right take. The Canadians only needed 1 take last night, Rico, from Connor McDavid to get it done for your homeland. How did you feel about that, man?
Well, you know what? Sometimes you gotta. Sometimes just a flick of the wrist. Sometimes you gotta backhand that bitch. Sometimes you gotta work around it. You gotta do all that good stuff to get the job done. And it took OT. And listen, I'm not a hockey guy. You guys know I'm not a hockey guy. But when the red and white maple leaf comes on, y'all gotta represent. And we do what we do on the ice. We do what we do on the ice. And there was a whole lot of shit talking from the Americanos. Oh, what's that? Well, Kachuk this and Kachuk that. All that. That's all I was hearing. And the Canadians pulled through. We got on the board first. I was like, all right, bet.
Early.
I know the Americans are going to come back strong. And they came back, boom, now 2-1. Y'all started just losing your minds. Americans, y'all started losing your minds like the game was over. Did you forget? We are born into this stuff. You feel me? So, long story short, McDavid, pop goes the weasel.
How
That's
do
it.
you leave the best player on the planet that wide open in sudden death? I mean, he had time to watch it hit his stick, pick his spot, and fire it. And he's hitting that shot 99 out of 100 times when you give him that amount of space, that amount of time. I don't know what the hell happened. Total breakdown in the defensive on the defensive end. There was nobody there. And you cannot allow the best in the world that easy of a look in overtime.
It's the disrespect. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it just they're just ran out of gas. They're done. They don't have the endurance. I don't know. But put aside the what a game it was though.
Oh, it was great.
Like, you don't even have to be a hockey guy. You just have to be a sports guy. It was on and popping from start to finish. So it sparks the, and that's been a debate all week. I don't know about you if you've been really paying attention to it. My guy PK Subban was like, "Yo, this is what it's all about. Forget about a Stanley Cup. This was bigger than the Stanley Cup. To take the title and say, yo, we got this over you guys. Oh, it's a beautiful feeling. But what a game altogether. Americans came hard. The Canadians came through. They gave the fans a treat. Whether you're just a hockey guy, it was just a good hockey game to watch. Now, listen to me talk about a good old hockey game to watch. But it was actually fantastic, man. I don't know if you watched it from start to finish, but weren't you feeling, we got to pull it out. We can't let these guys get it. Don't let the Canadians get it.
I was all in. I mean, that felt like a simulation of the Olympics in the middle of February. I'll tell you what. The NBA just released their ratings for All-Star Weekend, second worst in the history of the league. The NFL, it doesn't even exist anymore. They're out there playing tiddlywinks, and does anybody watch it? Anybody? It doesn't even exist. And the MLB has been on a downward spiral as well when it comes to the All-Star Weekend. The NHL just knocked this out of the park in a way I don't think anybody could have possibly predicted. I mean, this was an instant home run. That whatever this was here was awesome. I mean, you would have thought they were doing this for years. First time running it. I mean, these guys are laying their body on the line like they're playing life and death hockey. They got to go back out and play a whole second half of the season after this.
Buddy.
I mean, it was unbelievable, dude. They nailed it.
I don't know who it was, but somebody slid in front of a damn slap shot. I was like, my man's putting his body on the line just to get in the way. That's what you call passion, and we ain't losing. And what I think what made matters even, well, I don't know, but if you know this, but so your boy Trump, I say your boy, I say everyone's guy right now because he's your president, whether you like him or not. That's your president, right? He makes a phone call. You guys giving the Americans a pep talk.
Yeah, they had him on speakerphone in the locker room.
God, you gotta love it. And here's the beautiful thing, right? You had the soon to be prime minister, if we do things correctly. Pierre Poilievre was in the freaking nosebleeds with the Canadians just rooting us on. We're all, let's freaking go. What a rivalry. What a way to have, like, it's like the beautiful thing about it is this was All-Star weekend. We're all gonna mix back into our play on our teams, and away we go. You gotta love it.
You gotta love it. I mean, they asked Brad Marchand. They were like, some reporter asked him. He's like, I think this was the game prior to the championship,
right?
And they asked him. They're like, you know, how does playing for Team Canada, for those who are, members of the Bruins, how does this build morale for the second half of the season? And he just flat out said, I don't know, man. I don't really care about that right now. That's what he said. Like, it was incredible because these guys, I mean, the Bruins have been one of the best teams in the league for a while now. And they got cup aspirations. This guy doesn't give a damn about that. Smack dab in the middle of February. And the way that they presented it last night, Rico, because not only was the game incredible, not only did it feel like so much was on the line, how about at the end, the award presentation, pretty much like a simulation. It was just like it was just like the cup. Everybody skated up, got a medal, individually announced. Dude, it was a spectacle. I mean, it was incredible. I loved it.
You gotta love it. And here's the thing too, right? You like, hey, how do you feel about going back to I don't care right now. This game is what it's about right now. And you go back, and this is where you kind of wonder, like, are they gonna give you the same juice the rest of the season? Because this was insane. The amount of energy and just lay it out on the line like that. That was great. But you know who wins in this whole thing? Winners and losers. Winners, the fans. Definitely. The fans won completely. I don't know who came up with this Four Nations Cup, buddy. It's going to be the talk of the town for a while, and you're going to see the NBA do it too. And I'll tell you right now, they go world versus US. Oh, you're gonna have some. You're gonna have it right to the point where, like, Four Nations Cup, NBA, US versus world. Luka on one side, Joel Embiid, you got freaking Joker on one side, bro. That's just three dudes I just name right now. You put the Greek Freak on one side, bro. That world team against the US, you better put a team together. I'll tell you, man, what a great moment for sports. Period. Walter
you imagine being an American, by the way, real quick. You imagine being an American on the Oilers, having to walk back into the locker room and look McDavid in the face after he just shattered your dreams on the end of a just sudden death puck. Crazy, like you just said. Like, dude, I don't know how you come back from that. It was peak.
You gotta love it. Well, here comes Walter. Walter says, while I appreciate Subban's sentiment, I think a little perspective is necessary for when he was trying to compare the All-Star game to the Four Nations Cup. Playing for your country is different. It is different. You're right about that. It absolutely is different, but you could just tell that it meant something. It meant something. And I guess, I don't know, some might say this had more to do with, the Americans imposing the tariffs on the Canadians. So this was a way to get your lick back. And on top of that, the first game between the two, 9 seconds in, you got 3 fights, bro. It's personal. It's personal. How about that? We're gonna duke it out, and then now let's let the skills play out in the final game, and that's how it worked out. I didn't know when the hell we turned this into a hockey channel, but shoot, if I was a hockey guy, man, I wouldn't mind doing a Buffalo, Sabres fanatics and get this thing going. But I ain't that guy.
Listen,
I ain't that guy, pal.
But it comes full circle on all sports. Back to what Walt's bringing up right now, and back to, of course, what PK Subban had said on ESPN, because he nailed it on the head. And a lot of people didn't want to hear it because I think it goes against what they want to think about their favorite players and their favorite teams and their favorite leagues.
Right.
Hockey players are a different breed. I don't know how you get the gene that these guys all have, because every single one of them has it. But you were just kind of saying, to kind of parlay onto what Walt was saying, how it's different because the nations are involved. You're playing for pride, you're playing for country. A lot different than East versus West if you're in the NBA. I get that. But it wouldn't be that way regardless if it weren't for the intensity that NHL players possess, because they play the same amount of games as the NBA players do.
Yup.
And you don't see a lack of effort. Ever,
load management.
Ever. And to bring it back to comparing just recently here, if we're talking about all sports, the NFL, I can't even compare it to anything with the NFL because there's nothing to compare it to. What am I going to compare it to? The flag football game that they have? The NBA the other day, LeBron, I like LeBron. Right? I don't really know how you could. He's been one of the more. I mean, he's literally the ambassador of the world, essentially, when it comes to pro sports. And once again, an all-star. And here he is for the all-star photo. Where you go. I mean, he's in street clothes, and it's just this is what these games, these celebrations, or whatever they're trying to coin them now, have been reduced down to. They're nothing. I mean, I remember when the NBA All-Star Weekend was something to see, man. It was a spectacle. Dwight Howard putting on the Captain America, or the Superman suit, right? Yep. Like Vince Carter when I was super young growing up. Now it's done. The NFL, the Pro Bowl no longer exists. I mean, Drake May was a Pro Bowler this past year. I mean, what are we doing? So the NHL, I mean, that not only was it great for like you said, for us fans, and not only was it great for them, I think that was a major, hey, other three major leagues, step your game up. Find a way.
I promise you, they're good. We live in a copycat society. If you're doing something well with your business, I'm going to find a way to not only up it, but tweak it in a way. It's going to be the same crap. Like, for instance, the stupid iPhone versus Android, where I have both. I have one that I do for work and one my personal. And my personal is my Android, and I always stick to Android. I'm team Android here. Shut up, bop, 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 right? So that being said, go to your pictures. You slide one way because you're Android. The other phone, you slide the other. I get so cool. I'm like, which that nonsense? But this is what it is. It's a copycat league. It's just one up. So I'll tell you right now, the NBA is going to find a way to get fans back into it. I kind of like the concept of having the young freshman guys or the up and coming stars against the all-stars. Oh, they didn't work towards get it. They get the guys that actually give a damn to start playing. Matt McClung getting the damn dunk contest.
The guy doesn't even play. He doesn't even play.
He can play.
He can dunk. Yeah, he's won it 4 years in a row, but he doesn't play. He's not even really an NBA player.
So what are we talking about here? This is what I'm talking about, man. So, but
if you're the NFL, though, Rico,
you're going to see all major league sports find a way to tweak it and get this thing happening. Because right now, if fans are like, yo, bump this, I'm not doing this crap, you'll see. They ain't going to show up, and you're going to cancel that shit again. Just like the NBA did back in the 90s. I think it was like 95 or 96. They canceled the All-Star weekend. Whether I don't remember if it was because of people showing up or whatever the reason was, they canceled it. So that's that. So
you got to find a way to incentivize the players, because like Signified said in here, the reason Drake May was a Pro Bowler was because Allen didn't want to go. Why would Allen want to go? He just got off of losing the AFC Championship. Nobody plays harder in the league than him. And he wants to go spend the weekend playing flag football? I mean, give me a break. You have got to introduce an incentive. So I ask you, if you're at the table here, the meeting of the minds, right? They're getting together, the NFL execs, they just watched what the NHL pulled off. Now, granted, you can't do Team Canada, Team Sweden, Team USA for football. I get that. But we're sitting around, we're trying to create something that's going to get people riled up like this just did. Because in this country, nothing gets people more riled up than football, yet they cannot find a way to get anybody to give a damn about the Pro Bowl or some sort of all-star weekend.
Yep.
How do you do that? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
I talked about it in my last show. And so you talk to NFL players, and during college season, they're all about repping where they went. You know what I mean? Oh, I went to Miami. Oh, the SEC's that, or the Big 10 or Big 12 or Pac 10 or whatever. Shame on me for not knowing my college divisions, but you catch what I'm saying. So there's always passion in that. If you lose, you might against my South Carolina, you got to wear the jersey of this, down the third. So come Pro Bowl time, you have, I don't know, what's a weak conference in the NFL in college ball, but still produces some good ball.
The ACC, probably.
ACC and the SEC. You combine Pro Bowlers from those two teams and conferences and then try to mix it. And now you got the SEC, ACC Pro Bowlers versus, I don't know, Big 12 and I don't know, what's another one that's a strong one?
The Big 10. The Big 12 would be down with the ACC now. But if you combine the SEC and the Big 10, they would win that game by 1,000.
So then split those two and then put the Mac in there and throw the.
Oh my God, the Mac! So you would have to do like the Big 10 and the Mac, and then like the Sun Belt in the SEC.
Okay, and now y'all are find the Pro Bowlers from each team, and then if it doesn't work, find a way to kind of find a formula that can. Now let's see where the talent's at. You always talk about your conference is the shit. Let's find out right now. You feel me? That's the only way. Other than that, the NFL, they're not trying to risk anything. NBA,
what's the incentive there, though? Because to me, I don't think anybody's really going to care about playing for their college pride. I'm talking like there's got to be something on the line here, something obtainable that actually matters. Something
what the hell was on the line for the NHL guys? Pride.
They're just a different animal. I don't think you're going to get that from anybody else. These guys are out of their mind, and that's why it's so awesome. But I'm thinking for these other sports, like you got to have something worth playing for. It's tough in the NFL because it's after the season's over. So you couldn't do it that way.
Here's what I think this is where you can kind of recreate it. And there's one guy in the NBA right now that's kind of doing it. I don't know who the NFL version of this guy could be. But if you go to the Ant-Man in the NBA, to me, I think he's the face of the NBA, and he doesn't look like he cares to be buddy-buddy with everybody. I don't care.
He didn't even want to be buddy-buddies with Obama. Did you see what he said to Obama in that clip?
I'm that dude. I don't care who you are, President 44.
I'm the truth.
I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm that guy, pal. And I don't care what Joel Embiid says. I don't care what LeBron says. LeBron's like, oh, yeah, I guess, he's that dude. No, I am that dude. And then when you leave, I'm the face of the league. There has to be a hate created. When Charles Barkley got on love off the field, but me and Charles Barkley, MJ would go at it. Bro, it's on. Kobe and who's that light-skinned cat that played on the Phoenix Suns that used to give this guy problems, right? There's got to be hate created again. All this buddy, like LeBron standing in line, looking like a fool with his damn stuff on. Get the heck out of there. You block somebody else from getting onto the court with that bum-ass behavior. I don't like that stuff. But anyway, that's how you got to create it. You got to create hate again. Walter said earlier, when you create those things, you're going to create the malice in the palace again. Damn well do it. You need guys like Ben Wallace to kind of create a stir and run our test. You don't have that anymore. Everybody wants to be buddy. Let's hang out in the summer. Let's play some golf together. And then when you get on the field, it's like, well, what's going on? Like, there's no hate. Barbosa. No, not Barbosa. It's not Barbosa. That's not who I'm talking about. It's that light-skinned cat, no facial hair. And he always used to be on Kobe's. He used to bug Kobe the hell like crazy. Light-skinned guy, Phoenix Suns. It's not coming to me right now. What's that? No, he was a point guard. He was like a point guard, shooting guard. Why is it not coming to my mind right now? I can see his face. He wasn't a skillful guy. He wasn't like a crazy baller on the other side of the ball. But he always thought he could defend Kobe, and he was always in Kobe's face. Anyway, always great.
I don't know. I don't know what you could do. Let me know. I don't know what you could do that would truly make everybody get fully after it. Wow. How about that? Same last name as me. I wouldn't have guessed that in 10,000 tries.
Rajah Bell was a freaking thorn in Kobe's side sometimes. But listen, you need that type of animosity, man. Let's roll. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that there's got to be a solution of some sorts. They can't continue to do what they're doing. The ratings are awful. Nobody cares about it. It doesn't mean anything. And I just don't think you can quantify the meaning of the Pro Bowl anymore like you once were able to. I mean, I bring it up all the time, but back when it was Kelly and Marino going back and forth in the 90s, like Pro Bowl nods out of the AFC mattered because that was going to be notches in your belt towards your legacy. Now, I mean, Drake May can look back and be like, yeah, I was a Pro Bowler my rookie year. And those of us that were around would be like, yeah, it's because the 9 guys in line ahead of him took the weekend off to go play golf. I mean, that's why you were a Pro Bowler. So
I get it, man. I totally get it. By the way, Mike Sims, Ruben Patterson. I know who Ruben Patterson played for my Seattle Supersonics. But anyway, that boy was dark skinned, man. He was as dark as I am. I said light skin. You talk about Ruben Patterson, but I love Ruben. Ruben could play, man. He could defend.
What could you give? What could you give? Because obviously you would have to be an incentive to the conference. What could you give one conference over the other the following year as a reward for winning the Pro Bowl?
It's so like, what do you give guys that are making millions?
No, that's why it has to affect the actual game. You can't do financial incentives. It doesn't matter. $1 million isn't going to get these guys out there.
Yeah, but that's what motivates these guys these days. That's it. That is literally it that motivates them. Like, what do you think?
Million cash each if you go out and win.
Cash, it's like all right to the guy on the rookie deal, sure. The guy on the rookie deal, sure. The guy in his second contract, well, I got my guaranteed money. I'm straight.
You imagine if the NFL was like all the other sports where the championship is actually played in the home stadiums?
Oh, that'd be something, huh?
You imagine that?
That'd be something.
That'd be nuts. All right. Well, we'll move off of the All-Star topic and the hockey topic. Well, I'll put a bow on it by saying that the Four Nations clash was freaking awesome. Shout out to the NHL for nailing what no other major sport can do right now, and that's the All-Star weekend. And congrats to Rico and all of our fellow Canadian Fanatics followers. All right. So,
and we have bragging rights until next year. Until they decide to do what they want to do next year. And then we go from there. And maybe the Finns will have something to say about it, or maybe the Swedes will have something. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they might even make the Nations Cup a little bigger. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe they expand it. Yeah, who knows? I mean, if you have this much success year one, Rico, I mean, imagine. I don't know. I loved it. Freaking loved it.
Well, it's the Olympics next year, so listen, it's going down.
Already again? Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
back to the Winter Olympics.
We gotta get Crosby for one more Olympics, bro.
Oh, that's the one last thing I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you said that. I don't know why it just hit me last night. That Sidney Crosby, I had to think about it because I'm thinking back to myself. I'm like, I was talking about Sidney Crosby the way he's still being talked about. When I was in 4th grade, that guy, not only is he still playing at that caliber of a level, he doesn't look like he's aged a year. I mean, Ovechkin over the time here, you can tell, you can just see the age on Ovechkin, even though he's still playing at a high level. Sidney Crosby must have found the fountain of youth somewhere and will not tell anybody where the location is. The guy, other than a couple of gray hairs in his on his noggin, the dude looks the same as he did when he was drafted back in 2005. And it just hit me like, friends of mine were wearing Crosby jerseys in the hallways of my elementary school. I am a married man, 28 years old, a month and 4 days from today. And that guy is still out there making impactful plays on the world's biggest stage, man. It's crazy.
I'll tell you this. So Sidney Crosby is from Nova Scotia. He's from this province here. And it's just like it's the energy that this province brings, man. It's the energy this province brings. So this boy is from Nova Scotia. I think who else is from Nova Scotia that was on that squad? Not Marchand. It was somebody else. I think it was Marchand. Was it Brad Marchand from Nova Scotia? Can't remember. Either way, I say this because last summer, he's not one, like, he blends in with everybody. Yeah. Where there's a spot called the Waterfront down here. That's a pretty popular like tourist spot. This guy was just walking around like nothing, and no paparazzi beside him, just chilling and walking through. He's a man of the people. I mean, he don't age because he don't stress. He doesn't have to hide it. Oh, I'm too big of a star, bro. We good, baby. We just walk around and we straight. So, but he doesn't age. He doesn't age. He looks the same, like you just said. He looks the freaking same. Golly, man, good for this guy.
When you can, I mean, not only you got to give him props because, I mean, visually, to be able to play hockey for 20 years and look like you're still 18, unbelievable to me. I mean, you're talking about almost the intensity of a football game, but over a span of, if you're including the playoffs, I mean, and you're talking like the Olympics every 4 years and whatever. I mean, how many games has this guy played? Oh, I actually have it right here. In his career, he's played for the Penguins over 1,300 hockey games.
Dude, that's
amazing. When we're talking about careers, just real quick, amazing. Is there a better sports career ever than Crosby? Same team, which to me is one of the coolest things ever. Like Kobe, same team. I know it's just not a thing anymore. The way free agency is and the way that these leagues are now. But that Crosby's playing in the middle of that era. The fact that he's been with Pittsburgh this entire time, I don't know.
You don't see it often.
Just amazing. When you short list of greatest sports careers of all time.
You don't see it often, and when you do, you got to give it props, man. You really do got to give it props. But yeah, man, like you said, how we talked about basketball and sprinkle a little bit of football and talk NBA. How crazy is that? But like you said, to put a bow in it, great for everybody, and hopefully some teams start to piggyback and it makes it for us, because I'll tell you right now, man, you take the fans' money out of it, they'll start to get their shit together. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. So Crosby has been one of the best players of the last 20 years. The Buffalo Bills have been one of the best sports organizations the last 10 years.
Transition.
And go ahead and hit that bell.
Transition king, the Segway king. I'll tell you, man. Segway Bot, man. That's my guy. Go ahead, boy.
In the editing business, we call that a cross dissolve right there. Cross dissolve. Okay.
Well done.
We're cross dissolving into football talk. Let's talk about our Buffalo Bills. The season's only a couple of weeks over, and these are the times of the year where you're in that lull, right? We that's why the Four Nations thing was so great, because it was played at a perfect time. Nothing was going on, so it was just peak. It was perfect. Everything about it. But this is the time of the year, you're still a little early on the draft. Combine's coming up, of course. Free agency starts in a couple of weeks. But this time of year, March Madness hasn't started yet. Playoff hockey, playoff basketball hasn't kicked off yet. So you're just kind of sitting around pontificating. You're just thinking about stuff, especially after the Bills season ends the way it does. Usually this time of year, you're sitting there with your what ifs, right? And I'm scrolling Twitter, as I'm known to do throughout the day. And I saw a sequence of tweets, Rico, in succession that really hit me as a Bills fan. It was a double-edged sword. It was a double whammy. And that's what we're going to talk about in this next segment. We're going to try to weigh the success of these Buffalo Bills, because as diehard fans of this team, as we all are, we are in a weird quandary with the Buffalo Bills when it comes to how great they've been and what they have to show for this greatness. So as I mentioned, I'm scrolling Twitter and I come upon this awesome account. Everybody should go and shoot him a follow. NFL Nerd. And he posts these awesome graphics, just obscure stuff that you wouldn't think about otherwise. And he put together the regular season standings of the last decade, last 10 years. And there you have it. Buffalo Bills are just a game shy of the Pittsburgh Steelers for being the second best team in the entire NFL the last decade, trailing only what will go down as one of the best dynasties in the sport if it continues at the pace that it's currently going at. You narrow that down to the last 5 years, Rico. The Bills, it's not even close. It's them and the Chiefs, far and away. The two best teams in the NFL, they're in their own class. Yet the Bills have fallen short of the lone team above them every time they've had to go up against them in order to give us something to personify how great this team has been. But when I'm looking at these graphics, it really hit me. It doesn't seem all that long ago, as I like to say, because it really doesn't, where this team was just locked into the depths of mediocrity. Now we are a full decade in to a complete transformation that has resulted in these Buffalo Bills quite literally being the best team in the NFL outside of the current dynasty in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I see these graphics and it hits me. I'm like, man, we already knew this. We already knew they've been up there for this amount of time. But when you see it right in front of you, it kind of takes you back. I keep scrolling my feed, Rico, and I see an article pop up from Warren Sharp. And it was the complete contrast of those graphics that I just showed you. Warren Sharp came out with an article. The Bills have a playoff problem, but it's not Josh Allen, is the title. And right at the top of the article, Rico, it says, in the last 5 seasons, only 2 teams have exceeded 55 regular season wins, the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs have 3 Super Bowl titles. The Bills have not appeared in 1. It goes on to say that in the past 5 years, only 6 other teams outside of Buffalo have a winning record in the playoffs. Every single one of them, but the Buffalo Bills, have had a Super Bowl appearance in the last 5 years. The Chiefs, the Rams, the Eagles, the Bucks, the Bengals, the Niners. Some of those teams have multiple appearances in that last half decade. The Bills, the lone team to not have a single appearance. So it hit me, and this is why I wanted to talk about it tonight, because I feel like it can go in a variety of different directions, and we're very interested to see what you guys have to say in the chat. Decade in to these Bills becoming a powerhouse in this league, yet nothing to show for it compared to the other teams that have been in that sector with them. How do you sit right now, 7 years into the Josh Allen experience, and weigh the pros and cons of how great this team has been, but the inability to put the punctuation mark on
it? This is where these types of information that comes out like this frustrates and pisses fans more off than before, right? It just or it reignites a flame and relights a flame to say, what the F is going on? Like, if the article is telling me all the success the Bills have been having, yet nothing to show for it, but what comes out of it is that there's one person that I can tell you is not the issue, bro. That's got to piss you off even more, because it just makes it even stronger and louder to the saying of stop wasting Josh Allen's talents. Stop wasting. I'm sure Dolphins fans, if when they were when the Dolphins were in peak Dolphin mode, obviously the Bills were the issue at the time for them. Dude, they must have been like, stop wasting Dan Marino's talents. Like, stop. This guy's too good, and you guys keep messing it up. Who knows how it all played out then? But I'll tell you right now, man, Bills fans have every reason to be pissed off or frustrated as to why this can't happen. It's unacceptable. So then now it forces people to now try to point fingers. So then where do you point fingers? And I hate to say it, but it's always going to end up being pointed at one person based on the results that Warren Sharp came up with and that chart that came up. There's no reason for it. How many did you go back to the championships out of the teams that have gone to the championships, and Bills not being one of them? Can't really see that. It's small for me, but what do you got? The Chiefs,
six teams not named the
Chiefs,
Buffalo Bills.
Rams, Eagles, Bucks, Bengals, 49ers. Golly, man. It goes to tell you the problem. Obviously, the Chiefs being who they are. Obviously, the problem is we can't get over the hump. But there's one resounding name that should be at the forefront when something like that comes out. I don't want to say it. Can you say it for me?
I don't know what to say. This is where it gets really tough for me. You want to know the name I want to say, to be 100% honest with you? Maybe there's 2 names.
Oh, talk to me now.
Yeah. Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. That's the 2 names that come to mind to me. Because you're reading this Warren Sharp article, and it'll blow your mind in terms of how unbelievable Josh Allen has been in the playoffs. It'll blow your mind even further when you factor in that he hasn't won anything despite the efforts. And that's what has always just pissed me off more than anything. Oh, Josh Allen can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Oh, Josh Allen can't win one. Josh Allen can't get it done in the playoffs. Some of these stats are just insane. There are 18 quarterbacks, Rico, with at least 2 playoff losses in Warren Sharp's sample here. over the last handful of years.
Yep.
And he compares, and Patrick Mahomes is one of them. And he compares where Allen ranks among that list of 18 to where Mahomes ranks among that list of 18. Josh Allen ranks number 1 in EPA per play of those 18 quarterbacks and number 2 in EPA per dropback. Mahomes ranks 15th out of 18th and 18th out of 18th in those two particular stats compared to Allen. Josh Allen, of those 18, number 3 in touchdown to interception ratio, number 5 in sack rate, number 2 in sack to interception ratio. It's unbelievable how great he's been. And then you go and look at the defensive end of things. And we all know that the primary suspect here in terms of keeping Josh Allen from hoisting a Lombardi is the Chiefs. They've allowed 33 points per game to Kansas City in these playoff losses. And I know where you wanted to go. And I know that this is where we're going to have to go. This is where we've been.
I don't want to go there.
I don't know what to say anymore because
the numbers and the facts and the narratives and the fact finding, the research funnels down to one area. Whether you want to call it a person or you want to call it to one area or a department, however you want to look at it. But there's one department that you got to look at that's responsible for this. And there comes a time where you're like, okay, what's the problem? Are we just not good enough? That's not factual because the numbers tell you we are significantly good enough. So what the hell's the problem?
Did you know that the current average amount of points scored by losing playoff teams is 18.8 points per game? And the Bills, in their 5 playoff losses, average 24.6 points per game. They average a touchdown more than the amount that the other teams have scored in their losses on average. And they're still losing because they're allowing 33 points per game amongst their playoff losses. And I just, at this point, I'm in the biggest quandary of all time in terms of how sick it makes me, reflecting on how great they've been and how little to show for it based on a couple of moments that have all resulted in the exact same thing. I mean, it's basically impossible for the Bills to have been as good as they've been throughout this duration here and not have at least made a Super Bowl. And I know that the instant reaction here is to go to McDermott and to go to Beane. To me, though, there's always counters to it because I don't know. Nobody wants to hire a defensive head coach anymore. The offense has never really been the problem. There have been moments where they've been a problem, but they haven't been the overall problem. Nobody wants to go defensive-oriented head coach anymore. It's always the new. It's either the vet offensive mind or the new upcoming whiz kid offensive mind. And it's usually, if there's a defensive head coach hired, it's usually to a team that has the last pick of the litter. You know what I mean? The team that doesn't get their choice of head coach, not the top landing spot amongst the vacancies each year. So you're not going to go and get much better offensively the way that they've been. Defensively, who's been a better this is what kills me. Who's been a better defensive head coach, or who's really been a better defensive coach in general than McDermott since he's been with the Bills? You are not going to upgrade at the defensive coach position outside. I mean, you're not going to upgrade there. You're not going to upgrade. So if the offense isn't the problem, then hiring an offensive head coach you're not going to expect to score 45 points to win these games. But if the defense is the problem, you also have to consider that outside of the 4 losses to the Chiefs, the Bills under Sean McDermott have been a top defense the entire time he's been there. And they've often had less than the majority of defenses that are considered to be up at the top throughout that duration. So when you think about it, Rico, you're not going to be able to upgrade on offense in terms of production. I mean, they just had an historic season this past year, probably the best in franchise history. Yep. And then in terms of defensive coaching, you're not going to find better than McDermott right now. And then you leads back to where we always come to, Rico. What the hell is the solution? Then you look in the mirror and realize, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody seems to know. And that's what's the most sickening aspect of it.
Here's what I just looked up. as you were talking, and some can blame McDermott, and rightfully so. The finger should be pointed right at McDermott. By the way, Walter comes in and says, I couldn't disagree more, Z-Bot. If we're talking regular season, yes. If we're talking postseason, take the field.
But
now,
this is what I'm talking. I'm going to let you go up, but I want to come back to Walt's comment because how easy is it for us to write off 17 games a year? We can't do that, but we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, rest of the league. So I look at McDermott, because I'm looking this up. I'm doing some research as we talk. I look at McDermott and I say, okay, yes, McDermott is to blame. McDermott should have a lot of scrutiny on him. Okay. But for me, I'll speak for myself. The season of just blaming McDermott, I can't do it. I gotta put both these cats in the same boat, him and Brandon Beane. And I was just looking at, because somebody in the chat mentioned, I think it was Terrence. Terrence made a comment. I got to find it. Hopefully I can find it. He said, we've been in pretty much cap hell 5 of the last 7 years. So I was like, have we though? Like, I thought we've been able to pay our players and so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kind of went to the old chat GPT to kind of like, all right, let me see because chat GPT is not always correct. That AI is wrong. Sometimes I'll say, are you sure? I'm like, oh, my bad. Here's the right answer. Anyway, so initially, this is what they said. I asked the question, how have the Bills averaged? Let me go back to my initial question. When's the last time the Bills were in great salary cap position? Just to see what kind of response I would get. All right. And
what do they define by, what do you consider great, by the way? Like, no worries, just go in, be able to do whatever you want type situation?
Here's my first question was this, because I followed up with the other one, right? Said, how long have the Buffalo Bills been in salary cap trouble? That's what I want to know. Like, because every year it feels like we don't have enough money. We're just barely scraping by. We got to cut these things and cut that player just to get up. Like, Beane has been telling us for at least a few years, we're not going to be as big spenders. We're not going to be big spenders. We've been hearing that for so freaking long. I feel like it's been a long time. He shocked us with the whole Von Miller signing, but for the most part, he was like, we're not, right? So here comes ChatGPT. He says, the Bills have been grappling with salary cap issues for a few years now. Their financial constraints have become particularly noticeable after the 2023 season when they had to make some tough decisions, blah, 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 right? So right now we're at a give or take $12 million over the cap because of this whole, we will be estimated to be $12 million over the cap, right? Here's what they said. So when I started asking these questions, I'm like, okay, so 1223, right? So I'm like, okay, so wait, when's the last time the Bills were in great salary cap position? 2020. The Bills were in relatively strong cap position in 2020. During that time, they had enough cap space to make significant roster moves, including key players like Stephon Diggs, and trying to stay competitive and so on and so forth. Bro, Stephon Diggs has been gone a year. And I'm thinking back. I mean, the last time I remember that we were in a spending frenzy was when we signed both Cole Beasley and John Brown in the same offseason. It's like, whoa, look at us go. But when you go back and look, I'm not saying John Brown was a scrub. He wasn't. But he wasn't like a big name either. But those were the times we were spending money. I was surprised. Like, we gave Cole Beasley money. We gave that guy money. We were spending. I can't recall the last time we've been in that position. And we've been good, and I get it. To remain good, you have to be tight against the cap, and certain moves you can't make. But there comes a time when you look at the Eagles, you look at the Rams, you look at some of these teams that don't give a damn about no salary cap. Look at the Saints. The Saints are like minus 40 in the cap, but they're about to find ways to pay players to move things around. Granted, they're not a great franchise right now, but they seem to be competitive somewhat. They just weren't able to put things together the last couple of years. But I have to put Beane and McDermott in this, but more on Beane because I'm putting pressure on Beane now. Bro, figure it the fuck out, man. Figure it the fuck out where you can, you have some spending money. I mean, I get it. I think a couple years back where they didn't give us any money, so you had to kind of be tight against it, but everybody was feeling it. Now, the league is making money. You're generating. So now you have some room to cut, extend, trade, do whatever you got to do to get yourself in a viable position. If you have to make some really, really tough ones in order to get you some money so you can make some moves and bring some quality players to the freaking team, do it. This whole nickel and diming, We can't continue to keep nickel and diming, because what ends up happening is the nickel and diming you're doing, we're nickel and diming trying to stay in games in the playoffs. Nickel and diming all the way through. Like, it comes a time where you got to spend. You know what I'm saying? And you got to find the right freaking talent. I'm getting a little tired of this nickel and diming that we're doing defensively. I gotta go to the bargain bin. It's a joke when you keep saying the bargain bin. But fam, there comes a time where you got to get it together and just bring me a dog. And right now, the Raiders, I don't think they have any intentions of letting Max Crosby go unless you show him something. So they're like, yo, he's a lifer. He ain't going nowhere. They're trying to retain Max Crosby. So we may not even get a chance to even get Max Crosby. Myles Garrett, he wants out. There's got to be a way that we got to try to lure that brother here. But the Cleveland Browns are like, nah, we ain't trying to trade that brother. So then we got to figure it out then. Who we got? Are we developing enough talent on our squad? Some might say we don't have the talent. Cool. Do we got a game plan to go draft a dog? Because right now, we've been whiffing and missing on first-round picks. Kyrie Elam makes me sick to my stomach on what we had to do. We missed out on Trent McDuffie, so we had to make up for it by trading up for Kyrie Elam. What a freaking mistake. And you're paying for that because now we're trying to catch up and shit. So I'm getting pissed off thinking about it because Beane, pressure's on Beane. I'm watching every fucking Beane move this year. And I'm cussing. I don't want to cuss. But every move this brother makes, every guy he brings in, I need to see what you got. And Philly don't got money. But guess what? They didn't have money and they understood the assignment. We got to get it. Let's get it. And then we'll worry about that type of stuff later because that championship is what matters at the end of the day. I'll tell you right now, if the Bills were to go and spend like crazy and find a way, and then they're in the negative, but we bring a championship to Buffalo, are you going to give a damn that we might have to kind of take a back seat the next year? Would you care? But I'm going to ask you this question. Would you care? We went and spent like crazy money, irresponsibly. All right. We win the whole thing. And next year, we take a dump. Are you going to be pissed? Or are you going to be like, bro, we won it last year, man. I could expect it because we went all in. Because that's what all in means. We go all in and it's hit or miss. But know the repercussions when you do go all in. So like, what we talking about here? So Beane, we on your ass. You better, your scouting department better be on that shit. You better, when that cap money comes in, you better have a guy lined up, ready to go and bring to Buffalo and make that difference. Because this nickel and dimey shit, I'm sick of it. I'm done with the nickel and dimey, man. Like we're not a bad franchise for some nickel and dime like that. Golly, man. So I ask you, you win a championship. Are you going to give a damn about the Bills? They won 8 games. They're bounced out in the wild card. Boy, I got my championship. Let me rest on that for a bit, and then we can retool the year after. Or do you want to be competitive every year and come up with donuts? Which one do you want, man?
The choice, it's not even a multiple choice. There's only one answer, and it's win the damn championship. I mean, everybody's wondering how Howie Roseman pulls this stuff off. How are the Philadelphia Eagles who they are?
I don't know how he does it.
Go look at the amount of kicking down the can Howie Roseman's done with this roster. But why is he doing it? Because of what you just saw 2 weeks ago. They just absolutely waxed a team on the doorstep of doing what no team had ever done in NFL history. Kicking the can down the road and drafting incredibly well, too, by the way. You got to give them credit there. You got to nail your draft picks, and they have nailed their draft picks defensively as of late. But there are plenty of guys on that team that are getting their contracts kicked down the road in order to capitalize on what they have right now. We know the LA Rams did that too. And with great coaching and good quarterback play, you're going to be able to bounce back pretty quick. And that's exactly what they did. The Rams had a little bit of a divot after they went and won it. And what do you know, this past year, they were the second best team in the NFC when it all came down to it at the end. They were the only team that gave Philly any sort of trouble in the playoffs, right back to it. And that's with a guy in Matt Stafford that many people consider right now to be a guy that could be on the way out the door in LA, right? This is why I come back to what I had said earlier about what I think of when I'm reading this Warren Sharp article. I think of Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. And it goes back to what you just asked me. Is it worth, robbing Pete now to pay Paul later? Rob the living shit out of Pete right now. Rob him blind. I don't want Pete to go in his pocket and find anything but a lint ball and a piece of gum. If that means that we can get to a Super Bowl and win it with a team that is set up to do it. This is how Philadelphia just accomplished what I find to be one of the more dominant Super Bowl victories of my lifetime, because they had the team to do it, and there's plenty of guys on that team that have restructured their contracts. This is going to come back to roost at some point for Philadelphia. It always does. But who the hell cares at that point when you look back at what they've done? I mean, not only did they just win it, but Jalen Hurts, who's one quarter of the quarterback Josh Allen is, already has 2 appearances under his belt. Two of them. And that was one of them was without Saquon Barkley, right? So This is where I'm with you. What more do you need to see? Josh Allen's heading into his 8th year. The guy's not going to be inhuman for 20 years. Everyone's got to come back to earth at some point. And even though Josh Allen might go longer than others, because I've never seen anyone nearly as inhuman as he is when it comes to playing football, it happens at some point. You're heading into year 8, and it's clear that the defense, as we've been saying forever now, needs their own version of Josh Allen. You got a first ballot Hall of Famer sitting out there potentially available. And I just, even though the Bills are not in a great cap situation, you're talking about wanting to spend money. It's only going to get harder from here. Allen's contract is barely kicked in on these guys now. Go and look at what he's due to make this upcoming year. It's when it really starts to hurt. He's up to nearly $45 million this year. And I guarantee he'll probably restructure again. But once again, that's going to have to come home to hit at some point. And when it does, Rico, you're going to have to factor in 2 things. Allen taking a massive hit on the salary cap and his prime diminishing. By the time you're paying Allen what he's due, it's going to probably be when he's not at the level in which he's at right now. And Retro just came in and said it. Josh Allen's due to make $44 million this year. Dak Prescott's making 60 large. 60 large. I mean, where do you have Dak Prescott compared to Josh Allen on your pantheon of quarterbacks right now? It ain't close. Grand Canyon size gap between the two, and he's making $16 million less on the cap. So you know the guy is going to be willing to restructure. Didn't something come out on Twitter recently where Josh Allen went and re-signed? He restructured his deal at wasn't he playing golf and he ran to like a FedEx or something and signed the documents to get it done or whatever?
I didn't hear about that. Okay.
I saw some tweet. I don't know if it was I should probably redact that because I don't know if it was the contract or whatever. All we do know about Allen, though, is the guy wants to win. Does anybody want to win more than him? You don't even need to hear him speak. You see it on his face. Every single time these go down the way that they do, you know it means more to him than maybe it means to other guys in this league. Because as we know, it doesn't mean everything to everybody. It's just the nature of it. It just doesn't.
And furthermore, you've heard me say this before, and I'm gonna keep screaming this shit. Enough of the culture guy. I need a guy that fits in my culture. I need a guy that, bro, you can get someone to fit in your culture. You know what I'm saying? You can get, like, it's someone's habits can change if you put them in an environment that works well. I'll tell you right now, man, and it takes the right people and the right surrounding, and I think we have it to make it work, right? In my younger days, I used to work at a group home. And there was something that tugged up my heart with group homes because you see, and I worked at a group home with kids that are having trouble at home. So they send them to the group home, and you have people like myself that are there to kind of uplift these kids and make sure that they can be rehabilitated and get back home to mom and dad, right? And then there are people that are in the bad positions that don't help the situation. And I bring this up because you put someone in a right scenario, you put the right people around the right kids or right players, you can get the most out of them. So why are we there's so much trepidation on bringing a wrong piece that might ruin the whole thing? Well, what management is not taking care of this business? So when I worked at that group home, I took pride in trying to get these guys to understand big picture stuff. I took pride in trying to get these guys to understand what they do now, the little things they do now matters later, et cetera, right? And you see the difference. So and we had bad apples come to the thing. Oh, this kid's gonna be, you better watch out for this guy. This guy, you put him on with the right people and you challenge that, you got it. Who's challenging, Beane to say, bro, no, bring him. I'll deal with him. Is he just making all the shots and you got no say? I'd love to be in these rooms when these boys are chatting to see I don't know, not that Jalen Carter would have been available, but you probably would have passed on Jalen Carter. Oh, no, we don't want that. You kidding me? That type of stuff pisses me off, bro. So I'm watching everything that this brother does, man, because we don't got Josh Allen long enough. So if this is the time that you want to put your marbles in, if this is the time, because we've lost 4 straight times to the damn Chiefs, that's enough. That's enough for someone to say, all right, we've done the whole nickel and dime thing. We can't do this. So this is it. We're going to swing, and we're swinging big. And the fan base won't mind. The fan base will understand what you're trying to do. But if you come back this year and nickel and dime us and bullshit us like that, bro, there comes a time where, we going to start calling for your head. Beane, get me a Howie Roseman. I mean, who the hell's Howie Roseman's assistant? Go look that brother up. Like, you've been around Howie Roseman. What you done? I
don't know. It's unbelievable.
Let me keep rolling here, because I was looking at what Howie Roseman's done the last 10 years. I want to see, like, what has he done the last 10 years? I don't know what ChatGPT is about to tell me. But 2015 trades for Nick Foles. He traded Nick Foles to St. Louis. He got Sam Bradford. All right. Sam Bradford's kind of rejuvenated his career a little bit with the Eagles, but nonetheless, that was it. All right. Then he traded with the Cleveland Browns to acquire the 2nd round pick in 2016 for Carson Wentz. Look what they've done. They traded out to get Carson Wentz. And since then, they've won 2 championships since then. And in 2016, they traded up to get Carson Wentz, and they're still doing it. Sometimes when teams whiff like that, they don't have an opportunity to get, because they set their franchise so far behind. This guy was still able to keep kicking. He's still cooking, right? Then he trades for Jay Ajayi from the Dolphins. He ended up winning the Super Bowl that year with that team. In 2021, traded Carson Wentz to the Colts for a 3rd round pick and a 2022 1st round pick, conditional 1st round pick, traded with the Dolphins to acquire multiple picks. This guy was moving and shaking. That is what set them up. They took Carson Wentz. They noticed that, he ain't got it. We're going to trade him, and we're going to acquire some picks. And this is where they went and got A.J. Brown, traded with the Texans to select Jordan Davis, traded with the Titans to acquire A.J. Brown. For crying out loud, man. This guy was moving and shaking. So if you have a piece right now, Brandon Beane, that you can get some picks for, shoot. I don't know. Now, this is where I ask you, is there 1 or 2 guys on this roster right now that you would trade right now to get some acquire some picks so we can start rolling? If you know this guy is not going to be it for you, but still has enough of something left in the tank that you can get someone. Who would you look at this roster and be like, I like you, but I can get a lot of picks for you right now, and I can build for the future and help my quarterback and get us over the hump?
Well, real quick, I want to touch back on the Eagles, because I think that they're the ultimate example.
They are, man. I got to keep it a buck, man. They freaking are.
You're a play away from winning it 2 years ago. You win it this past year. Right now on BetUS, Rico, favored to win it again. Have the best odds on BetUS right now to win it again in 2025. And then if the Eagles were to even get back to the Super Bowl again this upcoming year, and let's be honest, is anybody really close? If Philly's able to channel what they did, or even half of what they did really, this past playoffs, this upcoming season, is anybody really close in the NFC to Philly? I don't think so. And if they get back to another one, we're talking about another dynasty in Philly that's been kind of riding under the radar here. Seriously, because a couple of years ago, you're in one. You dominate this past year by kicking the living hell out of the current dynasty. Now you're favored to do it again real quick before the top of the hour, because as you see currently on your screen, BetUS, Eagles are favored to win it again this upcoming year. The lines are up there, by the way. YouTube 150 is the promo code on BetUS. 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. The thing about Howie Roseman that's key, there's a couple of things, and you already nailed on one of them.
It's crazy what he was able to do, man.
Drafting has been, here's the thing. It's kind of like when we talk about Andy Reid and Mahomes. Everybody's saying, like, how does Harbaugh and Lamar not pull that off? How does McDermott and Allen not pull that off? How does Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow not pull that off? And we come back to the conclusion that there's great and then there's legendary. And Mahomes and Andy Reid are just operating on legendary status right now. I think when we're talking about GMs right now, I think that that's probably a really good way to look at it with Howie Roseman and the other great GMs in this league. I think Howie Roseman's just operating on legendary status right now. He's had a couple of unbelievable drafts, and he's also done a great job of getting guys to take team-friendly deals and incentivize this team to stay as good as they possibly can in the middle of what they got going on right now. So it's not just the drafting, but if you go and look at some of their major players and their current contract setup, I mean, right now, if you go and look at A.J. Brown, entirely backloaded. Last year, Rico, he made $11 million. $11 million cap hit was A.J. Brown. You know what his cap hit's going to be in 2026? $23.5 million. So last year, in the Super Bowl winning year, you got him for less than half of what he's going to be due in 2 years. You go and look at Jalen Hurts' contract right now. Go look how backloaded Jalen Hurts' contract is. You know what Jalen Hurts' cap hit was last year, Rico? $13.5 million. $13.5 million. You know what he's due in 2028? $47.5. So they got him on about a fourth of what he's going to be due in a couple of years. And when you're talking about what the market value is currently, $60 million a year, like I mentioned Dak Prescott earlier, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, $13.5 million cap hit last year. Then you go and look at other guys that are just major players on this team. Lane Johnson restructures his contract, kicks his money down the road. You go and look at Darius Slay, right? Kicks his money down the road. So it's not just the drafting, but it's the guys that have been great for this team taking deals that are able to allow them to go and do things like get Saquon Barkley and go and build this team up to a point where they just displayed one of the more dominant performances this league has seen in quite some time. So it goes back to what you were saying earlier. The idea of what are you willing to take? Two things are on the table. Sustained success with the possibility of winning one, or all in on elite level talent, right? Elite type team, getting you over the edge now with a very high risk of this team not sustaining the success that they have had over the last several seasons here. Here's the question that this is basically what it all comes down to me. I feel like the Bills have proven to themselves that they do not need to go out and overspend because of how successful they've been. And unfortunately, I think that mindset has kept them from going all in. Because if you get down to it, Rico, if we're thinking, if we let cooler heads prevail here for a second, if Beane and McDermott are in the room, you can sit back and say, we've been managing our salary, we've been managing our draft pretty much the same since the beginning here. And ever since we've taken over, we have been the second best team in the entire league. In a league that is built on parity, in a league where you can be the Washington Commanders, who are in the depths of hell in this league, and a year later draft a rookie quarterback and immediately find yourselves in the NFC Championship, in a league where you're rotating success all over the place, even though the Chiefs have been at the pinnacle of it, we know that these teams come and go at the top and then all the way back at the bottom, stay at the bottom, somehow miraculously find their way back to the top. The Bills have stayed at the top. So Beane, just put yourself in this situation. You're sitting there and you're thinking, we're potentially a half an inch on a marked first down against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship from going to the Super Bowl. We are potentially 13 seconds away from some of the worst defensive management in that type of situation we've ever seen. We are that moment away from potentially playing in a Super Bowl. Beane's sitting there saying, I don't think we need to go and mortgage the future in order to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. But then there's the counterexample. It's Philadelphia, what they just did. It's LA, what they did a couple of years ago. How many more times do the Bills have to get burned at the end of the bridge until they realize that even though that they've had success, major success, doing what they've done, it has all resulted in the same thing? When does that light the light bulb up on top of your head to where you come and say, you know what? We've tried it for this long. We only have so many years left of Allen doing what he's doing here.
Yep.
Put my chips in and lay my cards out, right? I get why Beane and McDermott in the entire front office of the Bills would sit back and say, we don't have to do this, because they have a ton of evidence to prove that they don't. But the only evidence I feel like you need right now to prove that they do is that they have not been able to accomplish what they've tried to be able to try, and everybody's trying to accomplish, but they've been on the doorstep. And then you look at the teams that have done what they haven't done and what they've accomplished with what you could argue less over time here, right? In terms of the sustained success. I don't know, Rico. The more we continue down it, because the more we continue down the road here, the more I start to consider how every year goes by, and it's not just a year gone where you were this close and didn't win it, but it's a year gone where Allen's, if we're playing a video game, Allen's health bar, every year it goes down a little bit. And I'm not talking about actual health, the health is an analogy for, time's running. It's the NFL.
It's the hourglass.
It's the hourglass. Exactly. Meters running, Rico. Meters running.
The meter is running. And you know what? The meter's running. I'm going to take a page out of my Segway King. The meter's running for McDermott and Brandon Beane. The meter's running. And guess what? Tempers are starting to get a little heated now. Right now, there's a cool period in the offseason, but in a short 2 weeks, the combine is arriving, right? In a couple weeks after that, it's the free agency period that opens up. So there's going to be a lot that's going to take place in the next month and a half that you better show us that you're ready to get busy. So I did the same thing for the question I asked for Howie Roseman, what he's done to kind of get his team to where he's at. They got 2 freaking championships in the last, 5 years, 6 years? 2 championships in this.
They scored 33 against the Chiefs a couple of years ago. Jalen Hurts played the best game of his career. They very well should have won that game. They should have 2 championships right now. With Jalen Hurts, I think we can all agree, he ain't Lamar, he ain't Mahomes, he ain't Allen, he ain't Burr. I like Hurts a lot, and I think he's a real solid quarterback. But to do what they've done with solid as opposed to elite, Rico, it's just that much more impressive. And I know Eagles fans get upset when you say that Hurts isn't like a top 6-7 guy. I always say, I would wear that as a badge of honor. Do you know how impressive it is to do what you just did and have been doing with a guy that most people don't consider to be a top 5 talent at the most important position? It's even more insane. It's crazy.
Let me. I'm gonna bring you guys a little bit, and I want the chat to get involved in this. But you get involved in this as well. Based on what I'm going to share with you, information from what Brandon Beane has done since his tenure, since he's been here with the team. To now, I'm going to break down some of the key things that he's done roster-wise. And you guys let me know if, that's really good. I like what Brandon Beane's done. Or when you really look down on what he's done, could he be better? All right. So laying down the foundation to see what he's done. So in 2017, Sammy Watkins. Remember Sammy? So Sammy Watkins and Ronald Darby in August traded them, right? Sammy Watkins to the Los Angeles Rams and cornerback Ronald Darby to Philly. When Beane did that, I was like, oh, he means business. I'm with that. All right. So he acquired picks in that regard. So now we're building that foundation, right? So then he trades Tyrod Taylor. Traded Tyrod to the Cleveland Browns for a 3rd round pick. You got to love it. So Beane started off hot. So, okay, I see what you do now. I see what you did over there in Carolina. All right, you're bringing it to Buffalo. All right, here we go. On draft day, you know what took place? He moved some trades around. He got Josh Allen and he got Tremaine Edmonds. So you're like, okay, you got 2 first-round picks? All right, I see my boy's cooking. He got his franchise quarterback, right? So now he's built the foundation with a quarterback, and so he thought with his middle linebacker, which is now on another team, so clearly that didn't quite work out for us, and asked the Bears how they love Tremaine Edmonds. I doubt they do. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So he starts to strengthen the roster. Then he goes and gets himself John Brown and Cole Beasley in 2019. All right. And then he still keeps acquiring people. Then he went and got Stephon Diggs in 2020. Remember when he brought that awful Kelvin Benjamin? So he's had some misses now. Okay. So then in mid-season adjustments, he traded for Nyheim Hines, trying to get a spark. That worked out, but didn't because of the injury, right? So then obviously now you're starting to pay some players now. In that time, he had to extend Matt Milano. He had to deal with some things that took place. And now that you've kind of seen what he's done, all right. No, and listen, let me go back. 2017, Marcel Darius. Remember Marcel Darius? Traded Marcel Darius, got some picks for Marcel Darius. Love to see that. Then he traded for Kelvin Benjamin, which was a bum. They gave up a 3rd round pick for Marcel Darius. Not Marcel Darius, Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin for a 3rd round pick? Unbelievable. At the time, we probably thought that was a great trade. I hated it. Did not like it. That biscuit Benjamin. Anyway, let's keep moving. Obviously, Josh Allen comes through. Tremaine Edmonds comes through. Then we go get John Brown and Cole Beasley in 2019. So we start to spend a little bit. Then we get Stephon Diggs. So now we're building. Cole, John, Stephon. We're like, okay, we got something for him. We got guys that can kind of get separation. Then we brought Emmanuel Sanders. We're trying to get some veteran presence. So Brandon Beane has made some good little solid moves, but this is where the nickel and diming started to begin, right? Bringing the older Emmanuel Sanders. He rejected us prior to that, and then we brought him in on an older contract. There, he was hot for the first 6 and then fell off, right? So this is where the nickel and diming started to begin. Von Miller, old Von Miller, OJ Howard, how'd that work out, right? We draft James Cook. We like it. Seems to be doing well. And then we whiff with Kyrie Elam. So then we trade for Amari Cooper. Some folks are saying, yo, bring that brother back. Some folks are saying, yo, he's washed. He's done. What are we doing here? I see that you're trying, but are you just putting pieces together just because? Or we need to figure out where your evaluation part is. At the beginning of your tenure with the Bills, yo, you were on fire. And now I'm looking and I'm like, okay, fam, did we lose the touch? Or are we there yet? You know what I'm saying? So there's a few things you're looking at. Brandon Beane goes against Greg Rousseau, then drafts freaking Boogie Basham back to back. What? Boogie Basham? Is he even in the league still? Is he out? We drafted him in the 2nd round. So, yo, I say this to say my eyes are all over Brandon Beane. My eyes are all over Brandon Beane. I'm watching exactly what you do, bro. You better bring some freaking talent this way. And if you have to, like I said, watch your counterparts. It's a copycat league. You better figure it the F out. Because I'm getting sick and tired, man. Because those two together. Pagula, you better be watching this squad. And what stands out to me the most, you lost 4 straight times to the Kansas City Chiefs. Bro, 3 times was enough. 4? What are you trying to make it 5? Fam, it's enough. And now you have the Bengals that are going to be loading up. You got the Ravens that are pissed off. You got the Chiefs, the Chargers that are good, that look decent. If they can kind of build some pieces and put some things together, they're going to be all right. I didn't even get to the NFC yet. I'm just sticking on the AFC. Forget about the Patriots are going to look to load up too. I'm not saying that they're going to be anything special, but they're loading up. The Jets are going to try to figure some things out. Fam. Brandon, bro, we on your ass, fam. You better figure it the F out because, fam, people are watching. And Pagula, I'm just saying, bro, I don't know if Pagula's got the balls to make any moves if he sees the same shit happening and know all the same results and you're wasting poor young Josh Allen. Right now, I can call him young now. But once he hits 29-30, it's going to be a problem. My man Signified Nose comes in and says, yo, Rico, you don't want Pagula actively getting involved in the franchise and decision-making. He's an idiot. He basically has a gun to the back of his head. Every Sabres GM makes them make dumb signings. I don't know too much about what he does with the Sabres. I just know that he doesn't get involved too much. But there comes a time where you're like, fam, I can't lose to the Chiefs 5 straight times. I can't. That's sickening. It's a sickness. We gotta find a remedy for that. So whether it is that you go all in and find the dogs that you need to this team, or you just hope and pray that Josh Allen wills your team to a championship. But that boy, his back is sore. Like he been carrying, this boy's quads must be like tree trunks. His traps must be like this because he's been carrying the groceries for this team this whole freaking time, man. Give him some help for crying out loud. So I got into a little tizzy, but I'm getting tired, man. Maybe it's just the offseason the way it is. I'm just getting tired of this shit, man. So Brandon Beane, we on your ass, man. I know McDermott's already got some heat on his ass, but we are watching your every move from who you come in for a visit. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just going to be a little heightened this year because I know for me, man, I'm sick and tired of losing to the Chiefs, and the Bengals are a scary team, and they're only going to get better because they're about to bring all them boys back, and they got some money to play with. Whew, it's going to be tough. We'll see.
This is pretty interesting when we're talking about Howie Roseman and Brandon Beane. Howie Roseman has been the GM of the Eagles since 2010. So he's entering into his 15th year as GM. The Eagles did not go to a Super Bowl under his management until 2018, his 8th year as the GM. Brandon Beane is now entering his 8th year as the GM of the Buffalo Bills. After the 8th year of Howie Roseman being the GM of the Eagles, they have gone to 3 Super Bowls. They've gone to 3 Super Bowls since 2018. But Howie Roseman, and it's funny we're talking about the Eagles here because there's a comparison to Andy Reid here within this too. Howie Roseman, we all look at him as the god right now. But there was an 8-year period where the Eagles, they weren't close to getting to a Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden, 2018 till now, they've been a powerhouse. They've been a powerhouse for the last 7-ish years. Andy Reid, coach of the Eagles. He was considered to be what many people consider McDermott to be right now. Great coach, but not good enough to get it done when it matters the most. Then all of a sudden, Andy Reid gets a fresh start somewhere else. I think we're getting to the point where we're going to consider Andy Reid the greatest coach of all time. He's going to have more wins. He's going to have the most wins in NFL history if he continues to coach. The slight possibility that he ends up hanging it up before that, I don't know why he would. But at the pace that he's on, there's going to be a legitimate argument, and it's crazy to make it because it feels like it was solidified that Belichick was going to have that crown. But Andy Reid could very well finish with the most wins in NFL history. He could end up finishing, he already has 3 Super Bowls, and it doesn't feel like the Chiefs are going to be disappearing from the Super Bowl window anytime soon. That's a guy in Philadelphia that those fans wanted out, even though they were winning. They were having success. Donovan McNabb, that era. I mean, it was a great football team, excellent football team. He was pretty much the exact carbon cut copy of what many people considered McDermott to be right now. There's a long period where you're doing well, but not well enough. And then all of a sudden things click and you're viewed as the guru, the fazant, right?
Right.
Howie Roseman, 8 years. It's nothing special. But now all of a sudden we look at the last 8 years. Who's been a better GM? I mean, when you think of GM right now, when you think of the standard, even the most casual football fans immediately think of Howie Roseman. So you're listing off all those things that Brandon Beane has done. Right. I got to tell you, I'm listening to what you had to say, like just the moves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good in there. I mean, I know that there's misses, but there's a lot of good in there. And you know the one thing that I don't think Brandon Beane got a whole lot of credit for this past year?
Talk to me.
Moving off of guys at the right time. Moving off of Tre'Davious White. Look how that, I mean, it's unfortunate for Tre'Davious White, the way things panned out at the end of his career, but moves off. A couple of years ago, moves off of Tremaine Edmonds.
I would say he held on to Trey White a little too long. That's just me, but go on, proceed.
You might be right, but the problem is you draft Trey White and he did turn into an all-pro. Did he not? It's hard to get rid of a guy that you draft and becomes an all-pro. Plus, how likable was Tre'Davious White? He was one of the rocks in the locker room. I get that to some degree, but moving off of Stephon Diggs, Rico, they move off of Diggs and they have maybe the best offensive year in franchise history. The balls that took to move off of that guy, basically coming into the Bills and revamping this offense into what we've kind of expected the standard to be now. How many people thought that Josh Allen's success was directly linked to the addition of Stephon Diggs, and we immediately wrote that off this past year? We saw that was not the case. Getting rid of him, it takes some stones. And I understand that it was mutual on both sides. Both wanted out, but had to make it happen, right? So moves off of Tremaine Edmonds. We've seen how that's worked out. Moves off of Tre'Davious White. Moves off of both Poyer and Hyde at the right time. You could not have gotten more out of those two guys throughout the longevity of their time. And then moving off of Poyer when they did, right? Not bringing him back. Moving off of Mitch Morse when they did. Offensive line has been the best it's ever been, right? So you're moving off of Gabe Davis. I like Gabe Davis a lot, but Jacksonville is in a downward spiral that you can't even comprehend based on the talent that they seem to have, but can't seem to find a way to win with. So there's a lot of names that you brought up there that have been great contributors to this team. The addition of Stephon Diggs, the John Brown, Cole Beasley duo. The Bills turned Cole Beasley into an all-pro. They turned Cole Beasley into an all-pro wide receiver. That John Brown was one of the most underrated players in the game when he was playing with Josh Allen. It was criminal how underrated John Brown was. He was terrific with Josh Allen at a time when they had nobody, right? You listed off a bunch of names too in there, the Boogie Bashams of the world where it just doesn't work out. Yep. But you go look at Howie Roseman's track record and there's plenty of those names too.
I'm sure of it.
So this is the problem that we're having, right? And this is coming back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Where I was talking about McDermott, and I'll go back to the point that Walt brought up earlier because he had said his point on McDermott that we had pinned up on the screen earlier, where he had mentioned, it wasn't this one, it was the one where he had said that, he's pretty much over McDermott because he doesn't get it done when it matters the most. And I had mentioned at the time when he had brought that up, I had said, we can't sit here and pretend that the regular season doesn't matter. You can't get to where these guys have had their heartbreaks without being as good as they've been in the regular season. And in terms of the regular season, Since McDermott has taken over, the Bills have quite literally been the best team in the NFL outside of a team that history is going to look back on as one of the greatest in the history of the NFL. The Bills are the lone team on the outside looking in, the second best team. Their win percentage, second best in the NFL. Their defense, McDermott's specialty, up there in the top 10 ever since he's taken over as head coach. So you're looking at all the success, but it hasn't culminated into anything. You're looking at what Howie Roseman did through the first 8 years, didn't culminate into anything. And then all of a sudden, the second half of that career, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 championships of the 3, winning 2, could have won the third. They played terrific against those Chiefs. The moment we're currently sitting in, it's so hard to think about what they haven't done up until now. And it's so hard to think about the idea of them accomplishing it down the line. But this is where you have to consider the moments where Andy Reid couldn't succeed in Philadelphia. Consider the moments where Howie Roseman wasn't doing what he was doing currently the first 8 years of his career in Philadelphia. The difference here with Beane, however, is it does feel like there has to be some sort of alteration in the strategy to take advantage of Josh Allen. That's the one thing that I come back to, where you've done so well in terms of your success and how you have structured this team since taking over. But the result has ultimately been the same. So what's the difference going to be if Howie Roseman's going into his 15th year, started getting it done in the 8th, Beane's going into the 8th? What's going to be the difference in strategy here for Beane to become Howie Roseman in the second half? What's the difference in strategy going to be? And I think one of those differences might have to be doing the uncomfortable thing, overpaying when you really don't want to in order to capitalize on a moment that's not going to be here forever.
You're not wrong. And that's something different has to take place is what it comes down to. Something different. We can't keep doing, it sounds like a broken record. Can't keep nickel and diming and doing the same thing we've been doing and just hoping and praying we get over the edge, right? And Walter comes in and says, I couldn't care less about the regular season because I know you said earlier, regular season matters. You're right to a degree, but at the end of the day, we all know what really does matter. And I expect to make the postseason regardless of who's the coach. That's what Walter's saying. I know people will point to the Bengals, but look how horrible and wrong it had to go. What say you when Walter comes in and mentions that, when he's talking about wins, when you were talking about regular season matters and so on and so forth?
I say that I know for a 100% fact that Walt is way smarter than what he just said because of the countless chats Walt has sent in. He's always giving us another angle to look at, which I love about him. Walt's always throwing us another way to look at it and always passing on wisdom. Walt, I know you're smarter than saying that you couldn't care less about the regular season. The regular season, like I just mentioned, you don't get to the point where you lose in 13 seconds. You don't get to the point where you don't get the first down and lose to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. You don't get to that point unless you build the team that they have built in the regular season. I know that even though the regular season is 99% of the bulk of games that McDermott's coached, I know the 1% matters the most. But like I had said earlier, you're talking about a change at coach. The only way to do that right now would be bringing in a guy offensively. You would more than likely bring in an offensive coach. I don't know how the Bills' offense gets much better than what it is right now. I just don't. Then when you're looking at defense, you tell me right now. I saw somebody mention earlier in the chat that the Bills should have went all in to hire Steve Spagnuolo as their head coach. Because I was saying earlier, I don't think you're finding an upgrade when it comes to defensive coaching. I don't think you're finding an upgrade to McDermott. I think he's one of the best defensive coaches in the league. Steve Spagnuolo is the best D coordinator in the league. You know what Steve Spagnuolo's record was as a head coach? Because Steve Spagnuolo was a head coach.
Not great.
10-38.
There you go.
10-38. So I understand the idea of the regular season not mattering. And believe me, I mean, you know how much it kills me at the end of the year when it all results in nothing. But the idea that we write off McDermott as easily as people want to, when they have had the success that they've had, I'm just not willing to do it. I'm not willing to do it when I don't see a considerable upgrade out there available that I find to be a major difference in the Bills getting over the hump in the playoffs. I just don't see a coach out there currently that is going to take the Bills from what they've been to this whole other level just because they have a new head coach. Do you see that?
Yeah. Sorry, say that. Run that back because I was thinking something, but you said, "Do you see that? Do you see what?"
No, go ahead. You go with yours. Go with yours.
Because as you were talking about head coaching and the respect that you have for McDermott, what do you think? And I asked the chat this as well. What do you think the 49ers are thinking about Shanahan? Do you think they have the same conversations with Shanahan and have the same conversations with John Lynch as GM/coach? And are they sick and tired of it? Are they fed up? You just gave a big time contract to a guy that just tore his knee. You gave a big time contract to a guy that's asked for a trade and wants out. You don't know what you're trying to do with Purdy, and there's consideration of bringing Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers. What else have they done that's been questionable? But you gave a big time contract to CMC, massive contract to CMC, and he at the time may have been worth it. But now,
did you mention Trey Lance?
Oh, they moved on from Trey Lance.
They
traded him. They drafted him high. Moved on from him. And,
three first round picks.
Still viable. So, what do you think 49ers fans are thinking about that franchise, that their leadership? You think they're saying Shanahan can't get it done? He didn't get it done in Atlanta. Certainly, he can't get it done here. Are you thinking they're saying move on from him, or do you say let's keep running in the back? I actually wonder that myself.
Kyle Shanahan has always been my immediate comparison to this whole situation. It always has been. Ever since the overwhelming cries for firing McDermott have risen to the loudest degree over the last handful of years, since the beginning of this, I have always gone back to the Kyle Shanahan comparison. Everyone thinks that Kyle Shanahan, him and Sean McVay, are the standard of the young coaches in this league. They're the bar. Right? Kyle Shanahan is considered to be the guy that if he was fired tonight would have another job tomorrow. He's considered to be one of those guys. And I know for a fact that there's a ton of Bills fans out there that if Kyle Shanahan and McDermott were both fired tonight at the exact same time, everybody the majority of these people would say,
Go get him. Go get Shanahan.
How have we not picked up the phone and called Kyle Shanahan yet? How have we not picked up the phone and hired him yet? Kyle Shanahan, when has he faltered the most? In the exact same moments that Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills have faltered against the Kansas City Chiefs. On the biggest stage, in the biggest moments, with the most on the line, that's what those two are most known for right now. Yet people think because he's an offensive coach, he's this young guru, that all of a sudden the Bills are going to be a completely transformed team with his hiring. Even though the Niners roster has been considerably better than the Buffalo Bills, and they still falter in the exact same moments that Sean McDermott has faltered in against the exact same team. So if Kyle Shanahan is considered to be one of the best coaches in the league, I say once again, if he isn't going to be the answer for the Bills to transition from what they are under McDermott to what everybody wants them to be, if he's not the answer, then who is? And that's when you go back to where my ultimate conclusion comes to every time. I don't think there is a considerable upgrade out there currently that is all of a sudden magically going to wave the wand and make the Bills better than what they've been. Because let's be honest, it's really hard to be better than the second best team in the league. And I'll go back to what I had just said. If Kyle Shanahan is considered to be one of the best coaches in the league, when he loses in the exact same fashion that McDermott does in the big moments that everybody wants to fire McDermott over, if he's considered to be one of the best in the league, then where is the answer? Where is the answer?
McDermott is considered to be one of the best coaches in the league as well. He's got one of the best winning records in the league. So they're both in a I guess a favorable spot. But I guess it comes down to, both of them. You have Shanahan that's gone to 2 Super Bowls in the last 10 years. You got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. He's gone to the dance.
Like I just said, Rico, compare the Niners roster to the Bills. The years that they went to the years that they went to the Super Bowl, especially last year.
It's not comparable. They got some dogs in that squad.
Loaded.
especially defensively.
Loaded. And I see Signified coming in here. Put Josh Allen on the Niners 2 years ago. They win the Super Bowl. Yeah. Put Josh Allen on the Eagles, and they win that Super Bowl 80-22, not 45-22 or whatever the hell it was. The top 10 quarterbacks in the league were. I just saw Jesse in here. Terrific content creator for the Niners. I can't believe he's in here right now, because what are the odds of us talking about the Niners and he's in here? Jesse will be the first to tell you, because Jesse gets all the hate in the world. Because
if Jesse's here, I want to know what Jesse feels about
Jesse's here.
Y'all want to hate Kyle if he was here? He wouldn't. Well, hold on. He wouldn't have the patience to develop J17.
So I do the NFC West roundtable every Tuesday with Jesse, and we talk about this all the time. Jesse is one of the only Niner content creators to stick his neck out and say the most absurd thing ever. Rico, believe this. Can you believe this? Can you believe that Jesse believes this? Jesse believes that Brock Purdy, wait for it. He believes that Brock Purdy isn't an elite top tier quarterback. Can you believe that Jesse has the balls to stick his head out like that and say that? Can you believe that? He gets crapped on for it all the time. And Jesse would be the first to tell you that if the Niners did have what Signified's alluding to, if they did have a top 10 quarterback, the odds of them winning the Super Bowl over the last handful of years here are insanely high. I don't know how they don't do it. So,
hold on. So, Brock Purdy. You like Brock Purdy? Top 10 quarterback?
He's Tua to me. He's Tua.
So you're not a believer in Brock Purdy.
I'm a believer of the guy being capable of doing what he's done with an elite caliber roster. Is Brock Purdy getting to the AFC Championship with the Buffalo Bills? Ask yourself that.
There's no one. Josh Allen is that dude, first and foremost. So you can't compare the two. So no. The answer is no. You have
to compare the two, because now Brock Purdy wants $60 million a year.
He's not having it. He's not getting it. And here's the problem. The league keeps making clowns make all this money and why are you giving him $60 million? For what? What warrants you to make $60 million? What warrants Dak Prescott to make $60 million? What warrants that? What the F have you done to gain the market's the market? Man, fuck the market. This is what's causing issues. These weak ass, like Sunshine out in Jacksonville. What the hell is he making all that money for? For what? What's he done to warrant to get all that money?
Because they're next up. And as we talked about, why did Tua get paid, Rico? We talk about it all the time, because you don't want to draft a guy in the late teens, early 20s, because it's not going to be an adequate successor. You're not going to be able to trade for anybody. And here's the reality. They're good enough to get paid because they're not bad enough to not get paid. It's the quarterback purgatory. They're too good to move off of. They're not good enough to win a championship with. So you're faced with two choices. Either move off of them and be worse than you currently are, or stick with them and be mediocre. You're basically dealt two hands and they both blow. It's a terrible spot to be in. I think it's the worst spot to be in the league.
So let me listen, because we're talking football. We're all football fans. Do the 49ers do they sign Brock Purdy to a $60 million contract?
I mean, Jesse, you let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know what
Jesse for now. No disrespect to Jesse. I'm asking you.
Once again, this is back to
he ain't worth $60 million. Just say it.
But neither is Dak Prescott.
This is where Shanahan, if Shanahan's that dude, Shanahan should be able to move on from Purdy and bring in the next cat. Don't forget, they drafted Trey Lance. He's Mr. Irrelevant. So go find yourself another Mr. Irrelevant. So this is why I go back to like these coaching situations. 49ers fans must be sick of Shanahan. Yo, get it done, brother. You have that roster. Get it done. How are you not getting it done? It's falling apart. I get it. Injuries kick their ass this year, so it's hard to really, give them to kind of get them going and kind of give them a break. You have to give them a break, excuse me, is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, they got a damn good roster. But when you look at that quarterback, fam, no. If I'm the 49ers, I am moving on and looking for the next cat. If you have the guru that you have. If you have the guru that you have.
Who's the next cat? This is what it all boils down to.
Your offensive coordinator, the guru, will find him and develop him.
Okay, the guru spent 3 first-round picks to draft Trey Lance, and he's pouring Gatorade at AT&T Stadium.
That's a John Lynch issue, and that guy was a bum. They overdrafted first and foremost. Everybody knows that. The guy had one season, a decent season of football, and then COVID hit, and then it was bullshit. And y'all bums decided to go get him because you thought you had another Josh Allen. People keep trying to make another Josh, bro. They ain't another Josh, bro. That guy different.
But you're trying to tell me right now that Shanahan should just make someone else into a better Brock Purdy.
If he's that coach, if he's that dude, make it happen. You can't go pay Brock Purdy $60 million. That's insulting to Josh Allen's. That's insulting to freaking to Pat Mahomes, to the dudes that really get in and after that work. What, please, man? Market my ass.
What I do?
I'd pay $60 for dick.
I'd pay Sam Darnold $40 million. That's what I'd do.
To go to the 49ers?
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
Well, what would you rather have?
Brock Purdy over Sam Darnold.
You want Brock Purdy at 60 or Sam Darnold at 40?
The point I'm trying to make is you're not getting $60 million. I'm bringing you down. And if you don't want it,
good luck. You want to play GM again? You want to get into the GM simulator again?
That's my wheelhouse.
Okay.
Let's roll. So, and if Jesse, your boy Jesse's still in here, he gotta be listening to me say, yo, I guess that's how he feels because he doesn't think Brock Purdy's that dude. But anyway,
he thinks the Niners are going to pay Brock Purdy $55 million. He just said it in the chat.
$55 million for what?
Because he's next up and they don't have another answer.
Crazy. Hold on. Walter comes in and says, with Whaley, the Bills would have been $100 million over the cap. No first-round picks until 2030. But we would have had, don't get me started on Whaley, because I'll tell you right now, Whaley was building a damn good team. He just didn't have a quarterback. If Whaley were still here, because he was willing to be the GM that pays. The GM prior to that wasn't wanting to pay anybody. And when he was paying, he was paying bums. Whaley was the one actually retaining the talent. And the Bills aren't where they are now for a base that they had without Whaley. Don't get me started on Whaley. That's another ball game. Yo, y'all got me heated up today. Now, let's bring this back. The plane was like this. We got to land the plane back down. All right. My man's bot's like, he's sweating.
Well, I'm sweating because Cam's saying he can't remember the last time I made a good point. I'm sweating now. Now I got to be on my A game because Cam is not liking. Cam is not liking what I'm bringing to the table. Cam, he wants Shanahan in, he wants McDermott out, and he wants Purdy at 60 large. That's what Cam wants.
Is Shanahan overrated? Would you say, or is he?
No, I think he's properly rated. I think he's a great coach. Okay. He's just not Andy Reid, and he doesn't have Mahomes, and he doesn't have an Allen. And this is what all these coaches fall into.
Okay, let me ask you this. So right now, let's switch gears a little bit. We'll come back to that later, and the chat can, because the chat loves to interact with us like this when we get into heated conversations. I have an issue with what the Rams are doing to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is being paid $27 million. That's what Brock Purdy's worth. Number one, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'm disrespecting. 27 mil. What do you do with Matthew Stafford? Do the Rams bring him back? And obviously he wants more, but he's an older quarterback. What is he? Stafford's what? 37, 38? I got to find out. Point is, I would take Matthew Stafford over paying Brock Purdy in a heartbeat.
Oh, you're really walking out on a limb on that one. You're really walking the plank on that one. Are you shitting me? You're real. You are. Hit the bell for yourself. Hit the bell for yourself for the most fire take of all time. You take the Super Bowl champion Hall of Fame quarterback over Brock Purdy. Give a round of applause to Rico, please.
Let me bring it back. Let me circle back. How much is Matthew Stafford worth? Let's put it that way. At 37 years of age, how much is he worth?
He's worth enough.
Is he worth more than Brock Purdy?
Huh?
Is he worth more than Brock Purdy right now? We're talking about right now.
Yes. They were a play away from beating the Eagles, who just absolutely rearranged the dynasty that is the Kansas City Chiefs. They were a play away. They were a play away. Do people forget that the Rams were on the precipice of the 20-yard line going towards the end zone to win that game? And they would have gone to the Super Bowl because the Commanders were not going to the Super Bowl. A rookie never has. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't know why. I don't understand how the Rams and Matt Stafford can't reach some sort of a short-term agreement here. They were the second best team in the NFC in the playoffs.
So why don't they want to pay him? Why don't the Rams want to pay Stafford?
Ram, tell me, please. One of my best buddies, Ram. He's in here all the time. Like I told you, his name is Ram.
Is he a Rams guy?
Well, his name is Ram. Yeah, he's a massive Rams guy. I have no explanation for it.
So Rams got back from Cap Hill after going all in on the Super Bowl. Yeah, they should be able to pay him, but their head coach doesn't feel that he's maybe worth it. I don't know if they feel like he's washed. I don't know what the heck's going on, or they're just to the point where like I think it's time that we move on. Matthew Stafford has every right to ask for more money when he sees bums getting paid $40 million. They gave Daniel Jones $40 million. Get the out of here. You kidding me?
And then
Daniel freaking Jones?
But you're saying
you'd be disrespected.
But you're sitting here wondering how the hell Brock Purdy would command 55. You just made your own point.
I don't think Brock Purdy's not worth it. He's not worth that type of money.
No, I know, but you just made your own point. Daniel Jones wasn't worth it. He wasn't worth 10.
I know, which I'm now trying to get to. There comes a time where these GMs have to normalize where you're tiered at. What did you do for me for you to earn 60 mil as a friend? If I give you 60 mil, you are the face of my franchise. Ain't no way Brock Purdy's a face of a franchise. I don't care what anybody tells me.
No.
So when is it where is it or when is it going to happen where GMs will say, no, this is how much you're worth and this is what I'm giving you?
We'll hop on here when it happens and we'll break it down.
I'm waiting for it.
I got to tell you, you might be in a home and I'll probably have 8 kids by then because it's going to be decades from now.
TV deals be damned. I can't have I need to see you put the team on your damn back. Like a Pat Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Matthew Stafford. Give me somebody else that could really Jalen Hurts.
You need a Tom Brady to come in and suppress the salary cap for 20 years is what you need. Pat Mahomes needs to, you want to know what needs to happen? Pat Mahomes needs to restructure his deal and take $35 million a year. Then all of a sudden you'll find these GMs saying no. That's when you'll find it.
Listen, last second sports is absolutely right. Yo, he made a Super Bowl, baby. So that's why he's getting that money. Man, bump that. Who's that dude that made the Super Bowl with the Ravens?
Trent Dilfer.
Trent freaking Dilfer. Give that brother all that cash. Boy, please, man.
Joe Flacco.
I'm getting sick and tired of these players getting so much money and then have the nerve to not show up for Pro Bowls and this, that, and the third. Man, I'm getting heated, bro.
Jimmy Garoppolo had a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. 10-point lead. Okay. So the Niners, you can't tell me that team hasn't been better than the Bills roster-wise, right? Because Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo having multi-score leads against the modern-day dynasty in the Super Bowl goes to tell you the type of team that they had built around those guys, right? But we're talking about, so let's go back to the Stafford situation, right?
Yeah.
Because you're asking, like, what do you do here? To me, I understand the Rams have been really good at wanting to get young here. You know, I mean, Aaron Donald leaves and all of a sudden, hey, here's Jared Verse just coming in and dominating instantly, right? They're on this, you know, they're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua is now the staple, right? Kyron Williams was terrific. I understand the youth movement going on in LA. If they genuinely want to get rid of Matt Stafford, as crazy as this might seem,
it's crazy.
I would go get Aaron Rodgers. If they genuinely don't want to pay Matt Stafford $50 million or whatever it is, I think he's got a $50 million.
$50 million?
Here's how I see it, Rico. They were a play away, in my opinion, from going to the Super Bowl this past year.
Sure.
Is that not worth $50 million to you? I'd pay it. Ram, that
Aaron
one
Rodgers.
was,
What's Aaron Rodgers worth?
Ram, that one was for you, by the way, that Rodgers. I know you'd be waiting with bells on for Rodgers to show up at SoFi Stadium, right? Because you're going to be able to get Aaron Rodgers for what? A bag of Hershey Kisses? That to me is where it might make sense.
Well, hold on now. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a bad end of the year season. If you look at his
Right.
numbers, man, he had like what 30 or he had like 4 interceptions to his 18 touchdowns at near the end. So he started cooking a little bit. So maybe he's got a little juice left.
McVay, right? With McVay, you got a real stout young running back. You got a top end, top 5 wide receiver, right? You got a really good young defense. If you don't want to pay Stafford,
you take Aaron Rodgers over Stafford.
If the idea behind what the Rams are doing is wanting to get young and not wanting to take a considerable cap hit for paying Matt Stafford this upcoming year, Aaron Rodgers makes sense because I think not only do you get him super cheap compared to Matt Stafford, but as you just mentioned, it wasn't like Rodgers was abysmal last year and it was with the Jets. I mean, it was never going to work. For some reason, I was the only person on the planet that predicted that. It was the easiest conclusion of all time to make, yet everybody wanted to go on the complete opposite of that prediction. I think that Aaron Rodgers would be more than serviceable for the LA Rams. More than serviceable.
Hold on. I want to get a super chat in, and because I want to get these super chats as they come in because it's relevant to what we're talking about here. 49ers can't beat Mahomes with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. Z-Bot, garbage piece of S. Shanahan can't get it done. McDermott can't get it done with Josh Allen. Z-Bot, well, McDermott, oh, he's going, Signified is going at your ass today. Z-Bot, well, McDermott tries his hardest. Stockholm Syndrome. Yo, Signify, what does Z-Bot do to your ass, man?
Listen,
Golly.
Once again, I ask you, is the problem in Buffalo the offense? What's going to happen to the defense when Kyle Shanahan takes over? What's going to happen to the defense? Because if that's already the primary problem and you're not going to be able to find a better defensive coach than Sean McDermott, is it just going to get worse? The main problem that currently exists, is it just going to get worse? Worse? Yes. The offense can't get much better. They averaged 30 points a game this past season. They had 30 rushing touchdowns and 30 passing touchdowns. Josh Allen won the MVP. James Cook had 1,000 yards. And they did all of that without even having a 1,000-yard receiver. Okay? So the offense doesn't need an overhaul. Many people think the defense would. And Kyle Shanahan isn't coming in and making this defense into the 85 Bears. So I don't know all of a sudden why Kyle Shanahan would win magically because he's now paired with Josh Allen. Josh Allen hasn't been the problem. The offense hasn't been the problem.
Get his ass. Now he comes in and says, hey, y'all don't think Kyle is a great coach because he can't win a Super Bowl with 2 bums.
When did it? I just got through saying that.
Now, Signified is just making stuff up at this point. We didn't talk about anything like that.
Pulling it out of thin air, Signified.
But y'all love to glaze Lamar. Who the heck is glazing Lamar? Signified.
He is the biggest Lamar hater, I think, on
well, we know that. He doesn't like Lamar. We know that.
It's beyond not like. There is significant hatred.
He lives in Maryland, so I don't blame him. But yo, Signify, you tripping right now. You guys glaze Lamar, who has 3 playoff wins, a historic drop off in regular season to playoff numbers. Bro, I don't know where that comment came from. We simply
it's because earlier I know where it came from because earlier I said Lamar was better than Jalen Hurts, and Signified lost it on me in the chat. I saw it.
Lamar is better than Jalen Hurts. Fuck, he talking about.
Signified doesn't think it's close. He'd take Jalen Hurts.
Now you being
Hurts every day and twice on Sunday. That's what
you being a hater. Signify. Yo, he goes. Y'all try to tell me Lamar is much better than Jalen Hurts. The stream. Yo, get out of here. Now you hating. Now let me cap. You capping right now. You take the cap off because you capping hard right now. You gonna tell me Jalen Hurts is better? Come on, son. Anyway, let me
hold on. I got to clarify something here with the Kyle Shanahan situation. Yes, I did say that Kyle Shanahan has the same issues in McDermott in big games. So why do you want Kyle Shanahan to replace McDermott as the head coach of the Bills? That's my whole point. I think McDermott is a great coach. I think Kyle Shanahan is a great coach. I don't know when I said I didn't think they were great coaches. The thing I'm arguing here is that the result's been the same for both of them. They're both really good coaches. The result's been the same against the same team.
I gotta ask you a question. Let's. This is way off topic. Actually, not way off topic, but in the realm of it. Do you feel culture and talent, because I have to wrap myself around this. Do you prefer, I guess I need to, let me just put it out there because it's on my mind so we can talk about it. Chat, I feel like I'm Kai Cenat, and hey, chat, talk to me, chat. Chat, talk to me. Culture and talent. Would you prefer a franchise that's got great culture and has decent talent, but the culture is great, or will you take talent over the culture? And I know you gotta have both. You gotta have both, but I feel like Buffalo stands too much on culture and not enough on the talent side. You've built the culture. Go out and get the talent. So I ask you and the chat, how do y'all feel about this culture versus talent thing? Is culture a myth?
No.
Or is that a real thing?
Well, for starters, it's a real thing. But two, I'm interested in this because you've brought this up several times now over the last couple of weeks. And so
it's pissing me off. That's why.
I know. You brought this up several times. The chat has too. This is what I'm wondering when you guys keep bringing this up. Where is the example of McDermott prioritizing a lesser player for culture purposes over a guy that might have problems? And who is the guy out there? He
said it himself. What the fuck you talking about? Here I go cussing again.
Who is the guy currently that you view to be a culture problem that McDermott wouldn't take Beane wouldn't take a swing on?
There's no specifics. It's what he said. He said something about the nature of, if somebody had to quote somewhere, go ahead and find that for me. I'll try to find it myself. It was, I'd rather build out. He said something about character over talent, or a culture over the talent. I'd rather have a team full of culture guys and glue guys than talented guys. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that. I was like, oh, really? So that's what you see?
There's no way he said he'd take culture. He would take.
Bro, I might be butchering it, but I know somebody in this chat knows exactly what I'm talking about it because he said something like that. He did. After he said that shit, I was like, what are we building here? That's why you always hear people say, he just wants a whole bunch of choir boys. This is what he wants on his team, a whole bunch of choir boys. That's why that's where it comes in. That's where that comes in. So I bring it back to you. I know you need both. But I guess, let me reword it. Is culture overrated? That's the question. Is culture on a team overrated? And this goes to the chat, and I'm putting my man Bot on the line and on the right on it. And I want you to think about it, because I caught a super chat coming from Terrence Blanton saying, Rico, to your Purdy arguments, Benford extension from 3 to 7 mil. 3 to 7 mil. Hold on, Blanton. I don't know what you're saying.
Purdy and Benford?
To your Purdy arguments. I'm not sure what you mean, Terrence. You got to come back with that, bro. I'll look for your next comment. So let me know when you get it. You don't have to super chat it. Just let me know what you're talking about. My man said, yo, Rated R Rico's tired of being suppressed. Rico keeps popping out. You're a fool, man. Sometimes you got to pop out and show him a little bit. You know what I mean? But anyway, but is culture overrated? Because that's something I've been battling with. You know what I mean? Building a good culture on a squad. But when does that take a back seat at one moment?
Culture isn't overrated, Rico. Culture is underrated in this league.
Damn, look at you doubling down. All right, talk to me.
Culture is underrated. If I'm building a team, culture to me, and don't get this confused, I'm not talking about prioritizing strictly culture over talent, because you're just not going to be able to win that way. But look at the teams that have prioritized culture, or that have prioritized specific elements of talent over culture, right? Look at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns prioritized talent way over culture when they decided to sign Deshaun Watson off of one of the major allegations this league has seen in quite some time, to the first ever league history fully guaranteed contract. Derails the franchise. I mean, they're going to be picking up the pieces of that for however long. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine. And that's a team that's already been picking up pieces since I've been born, right? They prioritize talent way over culture, burned them in the ass. Washington Commanders. Look at how god awful that culture was when Dan Schneider was the owner. Rico, he sells the team because he was essentially forced to. Yep. Sells the team. The following year, immediately, NFC Championship. Immediately get a quarterback in the building that wins Rookie of the Year. Instantly. The Buffalo Bills, what was the Bills' culture prior to Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott? What was it? I'll tell you what the culture was. Being everybody's stepping stone, everybody's punching bag. The culture was, oh, let's just go out and go 7-9 again. Maybe we'll go 9-7 if we're lucky. That's the culture. The culture of a rotating door at nearly every position. The Bills have instilled one of the best cultures in sports. I say it all the time. And it has resulted in a team around Josh Allen that just had one of the best offensive seasons we've seen without a 1,000-yard receiver, without Diggs, without Davis, with Khalil Shakir leading the way, who would be a wide receiver too on the majority of teams in this league, right? We're talking about a team that probably did more with less this year than anybody else in recent memory. It's why Josh Allen just won the MVP. That was the whole argument. When I think of culture, I think that in order to have success, in order to have talent, you have to have culture within the building. I think it goes hand in hand. Kansas City, for as much as people hate them, the culture over there is incredible. Do you know how insanely difficult it is not only to have the success that they've had, but to be able to do it in a way that they've done during the era of the reign of the New England Patriots? Their culture was hard-nosed, right? It wasn't like this warm embraced, like positive energy culture. It was do your job. That was the culture. And it resulted in a hell of a lot of success. But there was scandal after scandal during the dynasty for the New England Patriots. Look at what the Chiefs have done. And their biggest scandal is Taylor Swift too big of an impact on the league, right? Are the refs getting in on this because they're winning too much? So the way I see it, culture to me is massive. And I don't think enough teams prioritize it. In fact, I think more often than not, they overlook it. And I think that is a lot of teams' problems that are currently in the basement. I mean, once again, you look at the Cleveland Browns, it's the perfect example. It's the perfect example because that is quite literally one of the worst culture to talent ratio decisions we've ever seen. And look at what has resulted. Not only is that team completely spiraled out of control, but they're losing the fan base. I mean, the whole thing is just an absolute mess. Now, I think where you're going with this is that you're talking about a guy who maybe had a little bit of a troubled history and you're not willing to take a shot on him. Like I'd be willing to hear you out on that. I understand
because I have a follow-up because I'm taking a page out of Pierre's book. You set up a question and then you follow it up, because where I'm going to go with this is, at what point have you built your culture enough where you can now take the risks to go and get the talent? I get it. When you have a fragile franchise, for example, Cam Newton said it best, I think a week ago. He says, I joined a team full of losers, right? And some guys took it personal. Oh, losers. No. The team was losing. They had a losing culture. They won 2 games on the year before. I came to the squad. Talent. Some might say Cam Newton was an issue. Cam Newton was never an issue. He even explained when he started not giving an F. He came in with the shaved head, clean cut, saying the right things, et cetera, blah, 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 until he could do whatever. And then that's a whole nother ballgame. The point I'm trying to make is this. At what point have you built your culture enough where now you can start to go after? Because I feel like the Bills are building the culture, but we're nickel and dime. When are we going to go all in? We've built the culture. We've set the foundation. For crying out loud, you have a 7-year vet going into his 8th year. You've built the culture. Go out and get the talent now. Go get it. Defensively.
But who is the guy that you think they're not willing to get?
Have a specific guy. I just don't want us to skip over talented people because they've got a checkered past, or they did something, or this, that, and the third. Bro, you've set the foundation. It's no different than when you get into a relationship. At least I'll speak for myself. When I got married, I didn't I got married on the foundation of Christian. I'm a Christian man. My wife is Christian. We understand the Christian foundations. You feel me? So we can go through some rocky issues, but you stand on God, you stand on your business, bro. We can get through all that because we got a good foundation. Yo, don't we got a good foundation in Buffalo? Couple missteps. Look, if we had such a bad culture, things would have fell apart with Diggs leaving and doing all that business. We said, no, we good. We got a good culture. So we know we can withstand, some tribulations. So go ahead and get some because you might have had a bad apple. And I don't want to call Diggs a bad apple because I don't. But you could have had a bad apple. But that next apple may not be. Might be fiery. And my man Walter came in. My man Walter is on fire. He goes, you want to talk about culture? Go look at the Eagles. The Eagles got a diva receiver. You know what I mean? They had a head coach that they're ready to boo his ass out of the freaking stadium. They hated him. He's cussing at people. He's doing this and doing that. Super Bowl champs. Is culture really a big thing? Because some might say the Eagles didn't have a great culture.
But I think also some might say that the Eagles...
And this is not just to put you on the spot. This is for everybody in this bitch.
But I also think that some would say that the Eagles had the best defense in the league, a top 12-ish, 13 quarterback, a top wide receiver, and an all-time generational Hall of Fame caliber running back. Right. They had the best team in the league, unquestionably, roster-wise. I don't particularly love the Eagles culture, but I don't think it's bad enough to where it would override the amount of talent that they have.
This is why I say sometimes the talent can override the culture, right? Because I'm a big believer in the culture. Don't get me wrong. I like a good culture. I like a good vibe but there comes a time you need a dog, man. You need a couple dogs. You need a dog. You need a Marcus Peters a little bit on your squad. You feel me? You need some of that. We don't got that. I've been asking this the last 3 to 4 years. How many true, I'm a ride for that dude. Taron Johnson. I like to say that Bernard and Benford dogs.
Yeah.
After that, man, we ain't got no more. You go to the Eagles, left, right, up, down, dog everywhere, bro. So that culture, love it. When Poyer was here, he was a dog. I got to give it to him. But there comes a time where now you've built your foundation. Now go get a couple guys that that make the difference, man. That make the difference. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need a dude. You know what I mean? That's a little. That's got his hunger is a little different, and that permeates into the locker room. So you got a bit of culture and a little bit of dog nastiness on the squad. That's what usually gets you over the damn hump. We have the quarterback. Crying out loud. Ain't nobody saying we don't got the quarterback because we absolutely do. Your statistics earlier said it to us. His EPA number 2 over the last 8 years, you said? It's insane. The best quarterback. He's seriously not the issue. We know that. Man, I had to get that off my chest today, boy. I went today from being an old man, super tired, ready to go to bed. I'm fired up because that coffee hit me good. I'm ready to roll. Anyway, I digress.
So, sitting on the topic once again. So as I brought up earlier, we got the Eagles once again favored to go and win it, right?
Love it.
Again. And I understand the argument about the Eagles culture, right? But I don't think there's a difference. I don't think that talent, when you have a bad culture and just decent talent, think about the Bills. You have good talent, not Eagles talent, but good talent. If you have a mediocre to bad culture in the building, the toxic ownership meddling into everything, right? Outspoken coach who's saying stuff at the podium he shouldn't, whatever you have, problem makers on the team, the Bills would be worse with the same level of talent. The Eagles, I don't think the culture that they currently have is bad enough to where it would override how good the team is. When we're talking about the toxicity of this culture in Philadelphia, it all boiled down to the idea that A.J. Brown, one of the best wide receivers in the league, was just upset that he wasn't getting the ball enough because Saquon Barkley's running for 2,000 yards. If we think about the culture in Philly outside of that, and Nick Sirianni just kind of being not your average run-of-the-mill coach, he's kind of an oddball to me when it comes to comparing him to what you would think of an NFL coach to be. Outside of that, I don't look at Philly to be a bad culture. at all. And when you look at the talent that they have, I think some might, just because they're like me and that they don't quite understand the whole ideology behind Nick Sirianni, but they're so great that I don't really know if it matters all that much. And I just think that he doesn't fit the exact mold that you would consider an NFL coach to be. But I don't think that they are overtly a bad organization when it comes to thinking about the players on the team and how they represent themselves and whatever. I mean, there's a reason why, once again, favored to win it on BetUS. But look at this. I mean, the Bills are right there, one of the best cultures in the league. The Ravens, what would you say about them? I think they got a great culture.
Yeah,
and the Lions, you could argue right now, who's got a better culture than what Dan Campbell's built in
great culture.
And you want to talk about a perfect example, Rico, of what culture can do in a building. When Dan Campbell first took over, the Lions didn't have a great year. But what he has been for that team, like crying at the podium, means so much to him, right? Being the guy that goes for it nonstop, consistently, and just being the overall identity of that team. Look what it's transformed the Lions into. They're one of the favorites to win it again as well. By the way, all those lines up on BetUS, YouTube 150, the promo code, gets you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. I totally get what you're saying, though. I don't think – I will say, to your point, though, about Beane maybe not being willing to take a risk on a guy that you're not sure of in terms of the culture fit, couldn't we argue that Diggs would have not met that criteria by basically demanding out of Minnesota before the Bills took him in? You knew what you were getting into, and you wanted doing the same thing in Buffalo.
You did. So, and we brought that little bit of an edge, and I think all of Buffalo loved it. And look how it started to kind of like surge and get this team up there.
But look how it ended, right? You know,
but that's okay. But you still built a good foundation, which I said earlier. The foundation is still intact, but you see what a dog like that can do for your franchise. So go get another one. Go find yourself another one. That's why you're a GM. You're the GM. Go find the talent. That's your job. You know what I'm saying? Do your job. Do your 1/11th. You know what I mean? What the young kids like to say these days, right? So that's the one way I look at it. There's another comment that came in. Hillslayer says, "Yo, dogs can't be part of the culture." Of course they can. I like the culture too. Don't get me wrong. But there comes a time, what I'm trying to say is you've built enough of a foundation of a culture, great culture, that you can say, okay, now I've laid out the foundation. Go get me some dogs. You don't think that Dan Campbell's doing the same? He came in and built that culture from the ground up. Now go get me some dogs. And look at the roster that he's fielded. He's got some boys on that squad, man. So I just think that the Bills are due. And then I look at this at the end of the day, right? And I'm gonna get Walter in here too.
I want to bring that one up too.
Winning is the culture. Do you really believe every bad team has bad culture? Belichick didn't become a bad culture guy when Brady left. You're right.
Many would argue
it's the talent.
Many would argue though that the culture for New England during
people hated the culture in New England.
Right.
The what do you call it? The Patriot way, man. And people say, "Yo, the Patriot way, man."
So that's the thing, though. Walt's saying winning is the culture, but many people would argue that the culture in New England wasn't great while they were winning. Like I just mentioned with Dan Campbell, when he first took over, they didn't win. He had to create the environment in that building to uproot that organization from being one of the worst in the league historically. The Detroit Lions. This is the best that they've been literally in franchise history. Now, to the idea that all bad teams have bad cultures, that's not necessarily true, but you have to start somewhere. You absolutely have to start somewhere. And I think it takes time to grow into it. It certainly takes time to grow into it. Look at the Bills. I thought that the Bills immediately felt different when they just felt different to me when they took over. Didn't the whole overall aura of Sean McDermott feel infinitely different in a better way than Rex Ryan? No,
yes, because he prepped us well. He prepped us well, and how he prepped us was asking us or telling us, however you want to look at it, trust my process. So he was telling us, give me time, and I get it done. With Rex Ryan, we expected something from Rex Ryan right off the bat because we knew what kind of person he was, what kind of coach he was. So we expected a great defense, a fiery defense, a fiery coach McDermott came out of nowhere. We're like, oh, okay, we signed Sean McDermott. I knew nothing about Sean McDermott. I just knew that he was a guy that got fired as a defensive coordinator from the Eagles. That's what I remembered him as. And he came as a coach, and we gave him the old standing ovation. I was like, okay, this guy coming in, and and I remember the first thing I remember about McDermott was every reporter that would ask him a question, he'd say, hey, great question there, Z-Bot. Yeah, Z-Bot, I'll tell you this, and this is what it is. Oh, hey, Rico, yeah, this is a fantastic question. He was like starting to know people by name. That's how it all started. I bring this up because it's just funny that got brought up. Anyway, going back to put this in a bow before we move on to the next topic. Because hey, by the way, for those that are watching right now, if you guys are enjoying these conversations, these topics, don't just sit here and just view and not show us some love. Show love to this guy right here. You see this guy with the beard that just came back from White Castle for Valentine's Day?
Oh, baby.
Show him some love. We're about to get into that just a little bit. So these Friday shows, don't forget, it's not just Buffalo talk. It's NFL talk. It's life talk. It's a whole lot of talk in between. That's why you guys hang out with us for freaking 3 hours a night. In my mind, I said I wasn't gonna do 3 hours today.
I know.
Look, where are we at? 2 hours?
And
these
Friday night shows lately, they've been getting lively, man. They've been getting live and loving. I don't expect these spirited conversations going into it, and look where it leads us. I love it.
Look where it leads us. So here's a question for you, Bob. It says Rico, and I want Bot to take this on too. To your Purdy arguments, okay, that was early before, but he followed up by saying this.
Oh, okay.
Would you pay Benford a raise in his pay? Even though his play doesn't warrant it, he's making 3 and now he can go to 7 mil. His play doesn't warrant it. Why do you think that his play doesn't warrant him getting an extension? He was by far our best defensive back, by far. He was actually one of the league's best, according to PFF. So, like, of course we pay that brother because you can see there's potential in him getting better, hitting his prime. And you want to get those guys now rather than later when the price is right. Because you let that brother do a Jamar Chase on your ass, you're going to be paying upwards to 40 mil. And you don't want to be in that position. Which brings me to my next off topic. This is not one that had placed, but I want to shift our talks to the Bengals. The Bengals are in a interesting position, and they got a receiver that they refused to pay last year that would have cost them a fraction of what he was asking for at the time. Now he's saying, or they're saying, that he can get up to $40 million a year. We're talking about quarterbacks getting money, right? Do they deserve it? And when are GMs going to just stop the nonsense? Is $40 million absolutely too much for a receiver to make, regardless of what they've done? Or do we look at the case of the market's the market? Oh, sorry, you meant Bernard, not Benford. Excuse me. I think both of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's like the same.
Yeah, I think both of them honestly deserve a pay grade. If you're gonna, and we're gonna get into that later on because those are questions I have for my man Bot. But yeah, I'm paying Benford and I'm paying Bernard. Why? Because that's the future of your defense. Future of your defense.
Yeah, I mean that's literally the foundation of the D right now.
1,000%. That's not Tremaine Edmonds, where you're like, yo, where was he? You know, Bernard shows up every game because he makes a freaking impactful play regardless. You'd go 2 games sometimes, but yo, is Edmonds still on the team? And then he'd make a play. And then 2 games later, no dice. So yes, he gets paid. So my question, I hope I can stay on.
Jamar Chase, right? 40 mil.
40 million for a receiver. And he's fantastic. And he's only 24, 25 years old. 25, I think. So 40 mil, you're the Bengals. Obviously, you gotta pay him. But are you like crying to the bank saying, God, I'm about to pay this guy $40 million? And now you got T. Higgins? That's like, gotta pay me. So what do you do if you're the Bengals?
This could not be a more perfect transition from the topic we just had.
Segway King, baby. I'm taking notes from you, bro.
Hit the bell. We call that the cross dissolve. We were just discussing culture ad nauseum. And once again, I love these conversations because you're having a good convo when a lot of people are on one end or the other. And I'm not denying that there's varying degrees of culture and whether it matters or not. I understand that. I think I value it more than others. I think I value it more than you do, Rico. I think that you would be willing to take a little bit less, right, than maybe I would be. I get that. This is a perfect example of how culture in the building can ultimately determine whether or not you're as successful as you possibly can be. You want to know what the culture is in Cincinnati? You want to know what they're known for? You want to know what they've been known for? Being a cheap organization. Did you know that they didn't have an indoor practice facility until after drafting Joe Burrow? Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, Ohio. They didn't have an indoor practice facility until drafting Joe Burrow.
That's something.
Now you're asking, do they want to pay Jamar Chase $40 million? So you draft Joe Burrow, who this past year, I hate to say it, but if the Bengals had the same record as the Bills, Joe Burrow probably would have won the MVP.
Probably.
The numbers he was putting up.
Yep.
And Jamar Chase would have gotten significantly more Offensive Player of the Year votes. It might have been closer to Barkley than you think if they would have had the same record as the Bills. Last year at this time, Jamar Chase held out. He did a hold in. And guess what? Bengals stiffed him. Couldn't get to an agreement. Bengals didn't pay him. So now Jamar Chase has to go out and prove to him once again, listen, you're going to regret that. You could have paid me at the market it was last year.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to pay me next year after I go and put up a triple crown on him. A triple crown. Jamar Chase puts up a triple crown the year after Cincinnati.
Congratulations, you played yourself. That's exactly what happened. Exactly
right. And you just hit the other nail on the head. Now, not only did you not get that one out of the way, and there's some moves in this league that are just no-brainers. There's a reason why Minnesota paid Justin Jefferson instantly when he was eligible to get paid and paid him top of the market value. You want to know why? Because it's a no-brainer.
They knew.
It's the biggest, where do I sign move? Jamar Chase is up there with those type of moves. Though he's up there with the where do I sign type move. Okay? So not only do you not reach an agreement with a guy that was a no-brainer to reach an agreement with to begin with, that's just based on talent alone, Rico. You also factor in college teammate of Joe Burrow, one of his best friends, put together maybe the best college football team I've ever seen in my entire life. That championship-winning LSU Tiger team.
Buddy.
Joe Burrow, also the face of your franchise, if he walked tomorrow, the Cincinnati Bengals would be blasted down into irrelevancy once again. They would be completely irrelevant. If Joe Burrow was out of the building, they would be completely irrelevant once again. Not only do you not pay the guy based on the talent, you also don't find a way to pay him based on keeping your elite level top tier face of the franchise quarterback happy. Now you parlay those issues into the same issue with T. Higgins, who Joe Burrow has also been very outspoken in saying, you need to bring this guy back. Not only do I want him back because us together is a perfect blend, that blend also has led to one of the best offenses in the sport. So we go back to the whole culture point.
Yep.
If the Cincinnati Bengals had more of a culture similar to some of the higher end cultures in the league, I mean, let's be honest. If the Bills were in the same boat last year, just swap, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, say the Bills had their Jamar Chase. Yep. You think the Bills are saying, we'll let you hold in all offseason, not pay you, and let you go into the season? Do you think that they would have done that? And I think the answer is a big old double caps no. Bills would have paid Jamar Chase. So now, not only do you have the issue that was already lingering with him, you now have it with T. Higgins combined into a broader issue with your franchise quarterback who has been on a media tour shouting to the rooftops,
yes,
you got to bring these guys back, or in a lesser way to say it, Rico, Joe Burrow is basically saying, you don't bring these guys back, we're going to have a problem. And if the Bengals have a Joe Burrow problem, then they have a major, we're going back to the depths of hell. We're going back to the bottom of the garbage can problem. So I think it's a perfect correlation. So you're asking if he's worth $40 million? He is now. He is now. I mean, last year they could have got him for, I don't know what, probably 35. They literally could have taken Justin Jefferson's exact contract, handed it to Jamar Chase, and I think they both would have walked away happy. So yeah, he's worth $40 million now. You can't tell me Justin Jefferson's making 35. Rico, CeeDee Lamb's making 34. You can't tell me that Jamar Chase coming off a triple crown, that offense being what it was, you can't tell me you don't pay him top of the line money. I mean, there's just no way they can't do it. There's no way.
I can't believe they're about to pay this brother $40 million. That's insane. Because like there's getting your dog and getting your guy that is just that good and that young and doing what he's able to do. And him and Joe Burrow just have this chemistry. It's just, there's no brainer. How can you justify bringing them both back? You got the rest of the team that you at least got to stay competitive. I get it. If you go and pay both Higgins and Joe Burrow, you're pretty much telling the Bengals fans is that our job is to score more points than them, regardless of how it's going to be. If we got to put up 40 points a game, we go put 40 points a game because that's the only way we do. Because defensively, you're going to have to get rid of Trey Hendrickson, and there's a few guys that you might have to.
That's the other problem. Trey Hendrickson's one of the only notable players on that god awful defense, and they won't pay him either.
They're gonna so what's the franchise tag for a receiver? I think I had the number.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's up there. I'm gonna tell you right now because I screenshotted it not too long ago. The franchise tag number for a receiver right now is 25 mil. You're gonna pay 140 mil, another one at 25 mil.
Rico, you use the franchise tag when you're not sure of what you have. How can you use the franchise tag on Jamar Chase coming off a triple crown?
They're going to use not on triple crown. They're going to use it on Higgins.
Oh, on T. Higgins.
Higgins is who they want to use it on. I don't know if I'm ready to use it on Higgins. Do something with that brother, man. Don't franchise tag him. You had an opportunity. And this is what sucks because both receivers were looking for contracts. And you're a GM like, what do I do? I like you both, but these two brothers are nice. T. Higgins will be good wherever he goes. And the Bengals got to make a decision. But if, like you said earlier, Josh Allen's got two dogs. Sometimes you can't. Macaulay Culkin can ask for all he wants. You just get one present. You can't get both. Don't be greedy. Because now you're being greedy, brother.
But here's what I don't get. Cincinnati has the 8th most cap space in the league right now.
So they got the money.
This is what I'm saying. But
the cap just went up.
It went up to it's gonna line anywhere between $275 to $281 million. It went up about $20 million. Cincinnati has the 8th most available cap space in the league right now. And you're asking, like, you're wondering, like, how do you justify paying him? Well, here's how. The Cincinnati Bengals last year, their defense really might have been the worst in the league. Could you imagine what that team would have been with just an average defense, how good that offense was? Joe Burrow had just shy of 5,000 yards with a 70% completion percentage and a 43-9 touchdown to interception ratio. Okay?
That's gross. Off
the charts. Chase Brown, who, like, you don't really bring him up in terms of running back. He was 10 yards shy of 1,000 yards.
Chase Brown was good. Canadian.
Jamar Chase almost touched down on 2,000 yards, and he had 17 touchdowns. 17. And T. Higgins had almost 1,000 yards himself, and he had 10 touchdowns. So you're asking, how do you justify it?
And missed time.
If you do not keep the nucleus of that offense around, what the hell is that team going to be? It's the only reason they were even somewhat competitive last year. How bad would that team have been if their offense was even 10 to 15% worse than it was? How much worse would they have been?
Buddy, the Bengals are in a predicament. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
You're the GM for the Bengals. Your franchise quarterback is pleading with you to sign both these boys. Give them whatever the fuck they want. Just do it. I want Jamar. You know I do. You're going to have to pay him $40 million. That's on your doing, not on me. But T. Higgins, I want my guy T. Are you going to oblige to your franchise quarterback?
100%.
You're bringing both those guys?
If the numbers didn't justify the request, I wouldn't. This is where you come back to what's on the table. Not only is your franchise quarterback essentially demanding it, the numbers justify the demand. And when you factor in the idea of what this team would be without the production that was delivered by those guys, with the guy demanding them to be on the team, then you also factor in what a disgruntled Joe Burrow could lead to. Burrow could want out. It could get bad enough. I mean, do you imagine, when is the last time that you've seen a quarterback of the caliber of Joe Burrow waltz around everybody with a microphone that's willing to have him and say what he's been saying? When's the last time you've seen a player of his caliber go around and basically use the media to shout at the ownership? Do right by me. I'm your entire franchise, and we just put up an unreal offensive year. What more do you need to see? I don't know.
$25 million for a receiver 2 is wild. You can't, dude, $65 million tied into your damn receiver, let alone your quarterback. You got the big 3.
Well, so Joe Burrow, if he wants all this, though, I got to say, Joe Burrow's got to be willing to he's got to be willing to restructure, I would imagine.
I would think that's what he's saying. If you can bring both those guys, I'll restructure my contract to bring them both back.
He would have to, I would imagine.
And if you're really about that life, then yes.
Well, I just looked it up. This is as of February 6th, according to Fox Sports. Joe Burrow has said he is willing to restructure the contract in order to help.
That's the only way you got to do it.
So he's already confirmed he's willing to do it.
So here's another thing, too. Speaking of that, let me go back to the Bills a little bit. Josh has seen enough in his lifetime with the Bills that he's like, I don't know what else I can do on my end. I'm an MVP. I'm a Pro Bowler. You know what I'm saying? I've been to the AFC Championship twice. I've led this team to AFC Championships twice. I can't get over the hump. Clearly, it's on the defensive side of the ball. At what point, when it comes down to renegotiations, when it's time for him to get a contract, Josh goes, all right, we need to talk. If I'm the franchise of the squad, we need to do something about that side of the ball. Whether he's having these conversations now or not. Does Josh do the old hometown discount? Not because he loves the city so much, but I need more talent on the defensive side. I need you to pay me a dog just like me. Or as he's like, nah, this is my third contract. I'm not taking no hometown discount. I'm getting paid every red cent that I'm owed. Y'all need to figure it out. Or is Josh a culture guy? He says, nah, let me redo my contract a little bit so you guys can do what you got to do. If you think Josh is there yet?
I mean, some could argue he's already been taking the hometown discount. I mean, he's already making $15 million less than Dak Prescott. Josh Allen, as it stands right now, is criminally underpaid. He's already restructured his contract, and we know he'd be willing to do it again. So I think if we're talking about the hometown discount, I would argue that he's already been on one, and I think he'd be willing to kick the money down the line again in order to continue to be on one for some time now. But as we talked about earlier, when you continue to restructure and kick the can down the road, no matter how friendly he wants to be, you got to pay it at some point. So right now, this is where you got to do what we were discussing earlier in the show. You got to be willing to take advantage of the prime years of Allen while he is under that restructured contract. Because when the dollars come home, or when the check's time to be cashed, and Allen's out of the MVP era prime, it's going to be even worse, because then you're paying the massive cap hit at the back end, and you're not getting the production that you're used to, of course, because Allen's in whatever year, his 11th, 12th year you name it. So right now, this is once again, this is how many more times can you and I say it? This is one more reason to me why I'm just. I mean, man, I'm filling up the briefcase, dropping it off at Cleveland Brown Stadium, and just saying, please, for the love of God, take my money and take my draft capital.
Yeah,
right now.
I hear you.
Right now,
I hear you. I brought that. I bring that up for a reason. I'm bringing Josh up and so on and so forth because he's a franchise. He's the guy, and he's taking him getting the MVP has boosted him to even higher levels. We're gonna change the pace a little bit. How did you feel about Josh Allen's fiance?
Oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this up,
Miss Haley. And by the way, I have to say it again. That girl is fine. I didn't realize how fine she is.
and she is cool.
And she dope. You know what I'm saying? And I when I was like before I was dating my lady, I'm a sucker for darker hair. And the dark hair, primo. So her saying,
by the way, speaking of which, did I ever send you wedding photos?
Rico, be careful, you married. I already told wifey. I said, hey, wifey, the other day when we talked about, I didn't realize how fine that what's her name? Haley Steinfeld is. She's like, what? How? She's beautiful. I was like, hold on. But she's fine. And she's like, and she's sitting here. Some folks were like, hey, be careful how you talk. Wifey's like, yeah. Like, why do you think you got with her? I was like, I didn't realize that she was like that. I was like, golly,
you know what, I never understood that mindset. You imagine this is you. You imagine Jenna looks at you and you're watching a I don't know, a George Clooney movie. You're watching a Brad Pitt movie, a Ryan Reynolds movie. You imagine she looks over at you and says, man, Ryan Reynolds is a handsome dude. And you imagine you being like, what the hell did you just say to me?
I know, right?
How could you ever have that mindset? If Caroline looked at me and said, Ryan Reynolds is handsome, I would say, no. Ryan Reynolds is hot. Right? I mean, like, am I an idiot? Like,
listen,
I know what a good looking human being looks like. I never understood people that are like, how dare you say that you think that guy's good looking? Like, do you want to be lied to?
Exactly. Let's get, we're grown here. Listen, I had to endure for a good 2 to 3 weeks. Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. Hey, Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. For a good 2 weeks. All I heard about, I could hear a phone and it's her going. I was like, we get it. I know he's fine. He's a good looking dude. His eyes got everybody all dreamy. Aaron, Pierre, that's Mufasa. That's all I heard. Right? You're grown. You get over it. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. But I know some people that are like that.
Really?
Don't even look that way. I have a friend of mine that the slightest look that even if it's a celebrity is fine. And his lady would say, oh, he's really good looking. So why don't you go be with him then?
Oh my
Dead
God.
Serious. Bro, some people are insecure in that regard. For those that are in that realm, you're insecure. Don't be insecure, man. Your lady chose you for a reason, or vice versa. Your man chose you for a reason. Don't be insecure.
And the reason why you don't want to be that person is because you don't want her to leave. And if you're going to be that person, it's going to make her want to leave. If you're that's the whole irony. That's the irony of the situation. You would rather her lie to you, which at the precipice of that whole situation is far worse. You want your partner to lie to you? No. And then two, on the other end, if you are the person that's constantly ridiculing a very logical observation, don't you think that's going to drive the partner away more than the idea of her thinking that a celebrity's good looking?
That's why you got to choose your partner wisely. I remember we were in the mall and I kind of hate it that she does it, but I appreciate it at the same time. And she'll be like, a girl walk by, and sometimes I'll notice it before she does, but sometimes I don't. And she'll catch me. Did you see the size of that girl's ass? I said, who? Where? She put that one over there. And I try to act like I didn't see it. I probably caught it a mile away, right? And I'll look, and she'll be like, golly, and we'll sit there and say, that's impressive. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll see a guy be like, the way I say it was like, oh, that's your type right there, right? That's the joke that we got. She'll be like, she'll look just to try to appease me. She's like, no, not really. All right. Knowing full well, I know your type. That's your type right there. Just don't be insecure, folks. Just have fun. Have fun. And that's why I love that.
That's the key.
That Haley Stanfield, Josh Allen vibe is cool. But how did you feel about? I know she's reading cue cards. I know this was set up for her to say, because maybe she is that way. Maybe she is like that. And if she is like that, primo. But the fact of the matter is this: when she goes, they asked her the question. I believe the question was, "Who's in the division?"
I got it right here.
Buffalo Bills and his 3 sons.
Actually, my thing never plays audio. You got to pull it up.
Let me pull it up.
So
that was wild. I got to pull it up. I go ahead and chat away while I look this up.
Didn't you ask? Was it you who asked Dawson Knox who the funniest player in the locker room was, and he said Allen? Was it you that asked him? Who did we ask that?
Was it Dawkins? No, it wasn't Dawkins.
No, Knox. Was it Dawson Knox?
I think it was Dawson Knox. Actually, you're right.
Yeah, I think we asked. I think it was him that we asked. Like, who's the biggest like jokester? Or maybe was it him?
Yes.
And he said Allen, right?
Allen's one of the biggest jokesters on the squad, man.
So not only do you have like confirmation in the building, but you've also seen the social media stuff they do with Allen. He's always in on the jokes. He's always in on getting the laugh. You've seen the clip, I'm sure, of him with the Part of My Take boys, and he says it. He asks them if they've had the wings down at room 40, and they go, if you had the wings at room 40, they're terrific.
Oh,
and then Big Cat goes, no, I haven't had them. He goes, I'll go after the show. And then Allen goes, where are you going to go? And Big Cat goes, room 40. And then Allen goes, room for these nuts in your mouth?
Boom. Roasted.
That when I saw this clip of Haley, I thought of that and I immediately said, this is why you can tell they're both just obsessed with one another. It seems like just a absolute perfect fit.
Great people. Hold on. I got the thing, so I just got to change my speaker so it works. Yeah, keep talking while I can get my audio. I don't want my audio to screw up here.
The way she said it too, I could just tell by her demeanor, like she was like, and I don't know, I can't explain it. Like she loved saying it. Like she loved saying it.
All right. So she did. That's right? The crazy thing. That's what I loved about it. So for those that are living under a rock, let me just get this audio queued up for y'all, just so you guys see it. Let me share my screen. And now, do you think people use this as bulletin board? Like they're just dunking on us? Or was this all in good taste, all in good fun? Ain't nobody looking at it any different? It's just what it is. I wonder.
Go ahead and pull it up, put it on the bulletin board, Jets. Go ahead and put it on the bulletin board, Miami, because you've had bulletin board material forever and it's resulted in nothing.
Let me know if you guys can hear the audio here.
How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15 yards. Name the 4 teams in the AFC East Division. Got the Buffalo Bills and the Bills' 3 sons. How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15 yards. Name the 4 teams in the AFC East Division.
Let me tell you.
Bills' 3 sons. How many yards is a roughing the passer penalty? 15
so
yards.
Let me just pause this real quick. So, she fine. Number 1. Number 2, that's dope. When your girl is dunking, you've been dunking on these guys these last 5 years, and now you got your lady dunking on them? Golly, man, this guy winning.
See, look, and here's the other thing you got to realize, too. I love Caroline more than anything in this world, but she would never know that the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins are the Bills' son. So that's another thing you have to factor into the coolness element of that. The fact that she is aware of it and knows it is a whole other degree of awesome. Because not only is she delivering the joke, but she knows enough to know the joke. She's in on all of it. She's aware of it. Like if I ask Caroline who the 3 divisional opponents were for the Bills, I don't think she's got a clue. God bless her.
The fact of the matter is this: they gave her the card. Like, would you be willing to read this? She's like, I guess.
Oh, Caroline would read that all day. If they gave her the card, she'd read it. But I don't know.
What does it mean? Don't worry about it. Just read it. Sure.
Maybe this is confirmation bias here. I feel like she came up with it on her own.
Oh, yeah. Now you're being too much. I doubt it.
You don't think she did? You don't think
she did? Triple dunk.
I think she did.
Triple dunk. No question about it. Oh, if she did that, you got to give her credit for that. Got to give her credit for that. By the way, my man Walter says, yo, Haley's going for the biggest trash talker of the Avengers. Yo, real talk.
I love it.
Real freaking talk. All right. Let's stay under the Bills chat here.
Hold on. By the way, real quick, just on the Haley train before we leave, do you see she launched like a canned tequila She launched her own like canned.
Oh, you know, Bills fans
Tequila
are gonna be
drink.
all over that.
I was just gonna say, Rico, what's the over under on the hundreds of thousands of those that are going to be absolutely demolished in the lots this upcoming year? And what's the over under on how many hundreds of them I put into that number?
Listen,
Because I love
I like those type of drinks. I be crushing them all the way back. I'm not a beer guy. I'm a liquor guy. I'm a cocktail guy. So you give me that, yo, it's a wrap. Give me 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Yo, it's a wrap. So yes, they'll be all over the place. And Bills are opportunistic. They'll probably start selling them things in there. And if she's cool, she'll be like, yo, I don't want you guys charging an arm or leg. Yo, every can, yo, that'd be a problem actually. If you made it cheap, God, the whole stadium would be a mess.
You legitimately, for like legal reasons, could not charge less than like.
You couldn't. Oh my God. Yo, this stadium would be a mess. Absolute mess. By the way,
imagine the Bills had $1 beer night, like a Thursday night game, $1 beer night. You imagine?
You don't want to do that.
God.
I'd send you to jail for that. I'd send you to jail for that, for making such a decision. Signified Note says it's my birthday tomorrow. I'm gonna get some of that shitty tequila for the party because I gotta support. Listen, man. I don't know if it's out yet. If it is, go ahead and fill your boots, brother.
Signified, happy birthday, brother. My wife Caroline's is today, so you guys are one day removed. How about it?
Are we calling your lady to wish her a happy birthday?
She's out and about right now. She's out in the town. She's in South Carolina with the ladies.
Oh, what's going on in South Carolina? What's she doing?
Two of her really good friends. They both live out there, and she's out there hanging, having a good time. And a couple of her other friends that don't live there went there to meet up with her as well. So it's like a high school reunion for them. Those are always the best. So she's out there for a couple of days having a ball. And South Carolina, by the way, awesome state. Awesome.
What a time to be. I was just talking to the wife right now. We took the kids for supper today, right? And sometimes I forget that I'm getting a little up there in age. So we took the kids for supper and it was like 8:30. We're driving back. 7:30 your time. And in my head, she's the one driving at this point. And I was like, yo, remember back in the day where we'd get off of work at like, and this is about your age, Bot. We get off of work at like, you know what I'm saying, 8, whatever, 5 o'clock, whatever the hell you got off your job, right? You probably worked like a decent job at that point. Maybe when we were younger, even 22, 23. Get off your job. 7:30, you're making plans. 8:30, you set up, you're probably pre-drinking somewhere, and 9, 10 o'clock, you're getting ready to get going to where you're going at. I'm sitting here driving back to the house. I was like, bro, there's no way somebody would call me right now and say, yo, Reek, it's 8:30. Go home, get dressed, we're going out. I'm telling them to F off. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Yo, I'm at that point where I get excited for going home to just chill out, put on the old TV, and we good. I'm telling you, man. I guess I've reached that point.
Nope, it's heaven. That scenario right there is.
It's time to start wearing the hat backwards? Hell no.
Hell no. You can rock it. See, this is the problem. You got to be able to rock it. I think we've done this exercise before, but watch this. There's a difference between being able to rock it and not. I mean, you see this?
Love it.
No, not love it. Bad, awful. I cannot be backward bot. It's got to be bent brim. No, backward bot does not work. I'm telling you, the last person on there, I know my limits. And the backward hat.
You're going to stay with the bent brim bot.
You're going to stay with bent brim bot. Forward facing bent brim bot, never backwards facing bent brim bot.
Forward facing. I'll tell you, I'm more of a side to do the whole backwards thing. That's two 1990s flip the chair around and sit down and say, listen up, kids. Can't do that.
Here's the key. You know how you can pull off a backwards hat?
Talk to me.
When I look at you and I don't even think about the fact that your hat's on backwards.
There it is. And
I've been doing this for people I see wearing a backwards hat, and the first thing I think of is, oh, there's no way that dude's wearing a backwards hat.
Listen, the court jester, you're so right. Body, you ever seen the movie Over the Top?
No.
So Over the Top was an arm wrestling movie with Sylvester Stallone, and whenever he got busy and he was about to get busy, that boy would do this. One of these and get ready to just when that hat turned backwards, go time. Biceps are out. Bicep bot. You mean bicep? Listen, that hat came out, it was over with. So thank you, court jester, for doing that. My man said, yo, you should have never said that, bot. You're backward bot now.
It's over.
Backwards bye. All right. Let me before we get out of here, because we ain't doing 4 hours tonight. I mean, it's so funny because there's a few topics we could hit. So I'm gonna try to hit the ones that could send us off into a good night and end the show.
I got one more after yours.
What you got?
Well,
you give it to me now. Go ahead.
Well, what do you got for me? I was interested to see where you were going with this.
So I was gonna go with, I could go twofold. Position of the 3 positions of need that stand out to you the most on this squad right now. And you said something earlier today that I was gonna challenge you right off the rip, but now the time is gone. But it had something to do with paying a player. And the first player that came up to me was James Cook. But I felt like we've talked about this so often.
But he did go on that podcast and
he's doubling down.
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about taking 13 or 12. I'm sure he will.
You think his agent's telling him to do this? You think this is an agent play?
I think this is him and his brother play.
Mm.
This is him and his brother. By the way, Court Gesture says, 3 positions of baseball hat. Off, on, locked. Rico's locked in.
You're the triple threat. You got it all.
Listen, man, sometimes you gotta stun on them a little bit when you get the haircut, because next week I'm getting the haircut. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go visit the family and all that stuff. So I gotta look presentable because my mom can't let me. I mean, you gotta look presentable with everybody, family coming through and all that stuff. So you gotta make sure. Anyway, neither here nor there. Cook doubling down. We can talk about that afterwards. But 3 positions of need. When you look at this team, it doesn't have to be like a player that you need specifically, but positions of need. Then I'm going to ask you what you do. I'm going to name 3 players, 5 players actually. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna name 5 players, and you're just going to simply tell me, bring them back or let them walk.
Okay.
So your 3 positions of need, sir. Away you go.
Cornerback, defensive line, wide receiver.
Oh, wide receivers in there.
Yeah. But now when I say wide receiver, I'm not saying, hey, go and try to make things even more difficult for Cincinnati throwing $35 million T. Higgins way. I'm saying
right.
They just need more. What that is, I don't know, but I'm not talking about going and getting this insane move in the position. There just needs to be more added there.
Well, we'll dive and over the time, folks, we're going to dive into the draft and we're going to dive into all those things that kind of play us into that. I like that. See, I was thinking of like, what position am I looking at? So A, cornerback, DT, DE, defensive end, defensive tackle, and I'm going cornerback. Simply, we just need that, and we need that for going from there. Now, secondly, James Cook asks for 15 mil, and he doesn't want any less. He wants it right on the button. He wants what he's worth, he says. And I'm standing on it. So what that tells me is he means business. So at what point, knowing full well that he wants 15 and that's where he stands, you got the increase in salary cap. The league generated a lot of money from TV deals to streaming sites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You now have an ability. You have the money, quote unquote, to do it because the price just went up. You can extend, cut, trade, do what you need to do with the rest of the roster to make enough money and generate enough, cap space to sign him. You could do it. The question is, will you or should you? So James Cook says, I want 15 and I'm taking a penny less. Yay or nay?
Well, so think about it. The increase in the salary cap here, essentially the entire increase would be devoted to James Cook. It's going to be about a $20 million increase. So nearly all of the increase would be immediately devoted to James Cook. Here's the main thing here. This should be more of a conversation being had this time next year. James Cook, there is no leverage for him to get paid going into this season. Absolutely none. There's no incentive for the Bills to do it. And if he were to hold out, he would be fined into oblivion. There's no way, based on the way that
he says he doesn't want to be a distraction, nor does he want to be a cancer.
Well, if that's the case, then he's going to have to suit up and play this year under his current contract without another one in place, because the Bills have no incentive to give him a new contract before this season.
You're saying he has no leverage right now?
Zero. Now, if we get to this point next year, and it's 50. Like, if you're asking me 15 million, or like either put 15 million on the table or walk out the back door, unfortunately, I got to walk out the back door, and I'm not thinking twice about it. And if he goes somewhere else and dominates, I'm still sleeping fine at night.
And that's what I was going to ask. Could you sleep fine at night?
Yes.
Where the Dolphins wouldn't do it because they already have Devin A. Chain, so that's not going to happen. Patriots could. You could see him go right to the Patriots. I always go to the division first and then elsewhere. Or you might see him go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Or you might see, I mean, everyone is going. I can't say everyone because not everybody values the running back the way some.
There's no way the Chiefs would pay him 15 million either. They don't value the running back at that level.
This is what I mean. So you're saying hell no to 15 mil.
Correct.
And he doesn't have the leverage. You're right. Because act a fool, I got Ray Davis in the cut. And I got a pretty decent running back class coming up. So he's as hot as he's going to be right now. So this is why we talked about the whole trading aspect. If you're going to be this way, y'all trade you right now. But that's a whole nother ballgame. We can discuss that later on because we'll see if the noise gets louder or not. But something to think about. Bills fans, something to think about. All right.
I do want to say, though, in his defense, I have no problem with him trying to get paid. He's coming off of 2,000-yard years and leading the league in touchdowns. It is incredibly difficult to get paid in this league at the running back position. Incredibly difficult because you're drafted, you're locked in under those 4 years. By the time you're eligible to get that second contract, more often than not, teams aren't finding the value in doing it and they move on. We've seen it time and time again. And there's a very, very short list of guys that are arguably all-time level running backs that end up getting those second deals. So I understand wanting to get paid because, like you just said, never been a hotter time than now because of the seasons that he's had. But from the Bills end of things, I get Cook wanting to get paid. Really tough to get paid, and you want to get yours while you can. But the Bills have no incentive to do so. And if it winds up being another scenario again this time next year where it's 15 million, there's no way I'm signing up for it. Can't do it.
And here's what he's done essentially with this conversation that he's done. Now that you're asking for 15 mil, and let's just say Brandon Beane says, I don't have any intentions of paying you right now because I got other things to worry about. Play in this year, show me what you got, go on and do what you need to do. But what he's saying now is this upcoming season has to be sensational. He has to have a great year because now that you've opened your mouth, you now have to cash in on your play because now you're playing for next year's contract. So if you come in and have a decent year, I mean, 800, let's just say he does another 1,000-yard season, and this time instead of 16 rushing touchdowns, he's down to 8. So now you want 15 mil, but you drop down in production on touchdowns, and you still have 1,000 yards. Now, no, I'm not doing it. So the leverage I thought he once had, it's not as great as I thought. And this is just talking now. I'm realizing. I don't know why I'm only realizing now because you get into the hoopla of things. But right, bro. You listen. Keep it up. You will be playing somewhere else, bro. You know what I mean? So play this year. You better cash in. You better give me 1,500 yards and another 10 touchdowns. And now we can have discussions. We can talk about that 15 you were talking about. You can't tell me, oh, by the way, the price went up. No, bitch, it did not go up. 15 is what you wanted. Now you showed me that you can earn 15. Let's go from there. But he has to keep that play up because if he doesn't, he just talked himself out of 15 mil. And now it's probably dropped down to 8. You feel me? So he's teetering. You teeter. You should have just played your game, said nothing, played this final season, and then jump into it. So maybe he may have spoken a little too soon asking for 15 mil if Brandon Beane ain't even ready to talk to the brother. So interesting. Now
that's the whole point, though. Like I said, I understand him wanting to get paid.
Yep.
The timing of it, however,
might be too soon. You're right with that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand from his perspective why he thinks the Bills would be willing to do this.
Big facts. All right. Sarah, are you ready for this? Let walk or bring him home. Let walk or bring him home. By the way, Walter comes in and says, I hope we keep the same level of critique when Shakir is looking for 15 mil. Y'all know how I feel about. I mean, Shakir. I like Shakir. But I mean, we'll see. Walter, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Quick bit of foreshadowing, by the way. We're going to do your exercise. I just want to show what's coming up afterwards, the next quick topic before we get out of here.
Yep.
Keep this in mind during our next topic. Josh Allen, there's this awesome line. Keep this in mind because we're going to talk about this in a minute. There's this awesome line on BetUS. 100 wins 1,400 on Josh Allen to break his own rushing touchdown record. Josh Allen holds the single season rushing touchdown record for a quarterback at 15. 100 wins you 1,400 to score 16 touchdowns next year. He had 12 this year, and Cook had 16. So just keep that in mind. You can get in on, by the way, you can get in on this on BetUS. This is one of the coolest lines I've seen because not only does it pay really well, but I think there's a decent chance of it maybe happening.
Let's get it right now. Let's get it right now because we're just talking about James Cook.
Okay, perfect. You know what? Perfect. This is where I was. So this line, by the way, up on BetUS, promo code YouTube 150 gets you 150% sign up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. So I saw this line. This is the reason why I got down this train of thought. I saw this line on BetUS and I immediately thought, this is one of the cooler things I saw that you can wager on because I didn't even know it existed. And then I thought about the payout, plus 1,400, 100 wins you 1,400. And I'm thinking, well, let's go and see what the probability of this could be. So in 2023, Josh Allen broke the single season rushing record for quarterback rushing touchdowns. Him and Jalen Hurts currently are tied. They both have 15 in a single season. Now, I know everybody wants to say that Josh Allen is a tush-push merchant, but Jalen Hurts was the inventor of the tush-push. And I think we can all agree in terms of running style, Josh Allen, more of the bulldozer than anything. I mean, I think that we can agree that it's not strictly tush-pushes that is getting Josh Allen to these crazy numbers. So I went and looked, obviously had the 15 in 2023. So he already holds the single season record.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go to last year and he had 12, only 3 shy of the record he already holds. He had those 12 while having James Cook scoring 16. So I'm thinking to myself, is Josh Allen on pace to maybe be, and this is where you have to maybe also factor into the idea of paying James Cook $15 million. Could Josh Allen end up finishing his career with an argument that he is the greatest rushing quarterback that we've ever seen?
Hell no.
Hell no. You don't think there's even maybe a slight debate?
No. No, not a debate. It won't be a debate because
let me throw another stat at you just to ponder on.
Throw me another one.
So not only does he hold that single season record, he's currently 10 shy of Cam Newton for the all-time career rushing touchdown record in NFL history. Cam Newton had 75 in his career over 11 seasons. Josh Allen has 65 already through 7 seasons. If he keeps up this pace, not only will he break Cam Newton's record, but he will hold a record that could be well over 100. Prior to Cam Newton, the record was Steve Young, Rico, with 43.
Yep.
Josh Allen keeps up the pace he's on, he will shatter 100 by the time he hangs up the cleats. 100. And not only that, but as it stands right now, Josh Allen is already the 7th overall, or he's already 7th in NFL history in terms of rushing yards at the quarterback position. 7th. And I know the major argument, of course, is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has over 6,000 rushing yards already. He already holds the record. Signify is going to be shocked on this one. The main argument for Lamar, of course, being the best rushing quarterback is because he's already shattered the record for career rushing yards at the position through 7 years. It's unprecedented. Lamar has 33 rushing touchdowns, however. Josh Allen has nearly double that. So I wonder how much of because Lamar has 2,000 more rushing yards than Allen, but Josh Allen has double the amount of touchdowns on the ground. And if we're thinking about Lamar Jackson being the greatest rushing quarterback of all time, I was wondering how much of that major touchdown discrepancy reduces the amount of discrepancy between Lamar and Allen when it comes to the overall yards? How much does it narrow the gap between the two when being compared?
See, a rushing quarterback. I mean, what if the quarterback, all his touchdowns, his rushing touchdowns are under 5 yards, right? And you got another quarterback that's got rushing touchdowns of, I don't know, a lot of them are averaging like 8 yards. I don't know. There's so much to put into it. But with my eyes, watching enough football in my time to look at, rushing quarterbacks that are mobile and can really do damage, the best rushing quarterback, do we want to call him the rushing quarterback? Yes, the best rushing quarterback, Josh. It's not even debatable. Josh is not going to be up there. Is he a touchdown merchant?
He's going to be up there.
He's going to be statistically, but by the eye test, I'll have Mike Vick up there. I'll have Lamar Jackson up there before I'll put Josh Allen like up among with these guys. It's Josh Allen will be below these guys. He may end his career as one of the best rushing touchdowns, but I don't think of Steve Young as a big time rushing quarterback. I don't.
Wait, Josh Allen's going to finish with more rush yards than Mike Vick, and he already has double the amount of rushing touchdowns Mike Vick had in his entire career.
Mike Vick has. But if you look at both these cats, you can't tell me that Josh is a better rushing quarterback than Mike Vick.
Lamar Jackson averages 6.1 yards per carry. You just mentioned earlier, like how many of these touchdowns are 5 yards out?
Those things matter, but go on.
Lamar averages 6.1 yards per carry. How many yards per carry do you think Allen averages?
That's a great one. That's what I wanted to know. And what I know about Josh is people will misconstrue that Josh is just a 1 yard TD guy.
Right. So with that in mind, what would your guess be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'd say like, I don't know, like if Lamar's at 6, I'd say what, 8?
Josh Allen's average yards per carry?
What is that?
You think it's 8 yards per carry?
Well, you said Lamar's at 6, right?
Lamar's at 6 yards per carry. Like average, all of his combined rushes throughout his career, he averages 6.1 yards per carry.
Yeah, so I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you. I mean, listen, you got to look at attempts with yards. I mean, those things matter too. But anyways, proceed. Let me know what the deal is.
Allen's 5.5.
5.5. Okay. I thought it was gonna be something crazy. I thought you were gonna just give me something really crazy.
No, my point is that
they're close.
Yes. And when you consider, this is the other crazy thing. Lamar has 1,000 rushing attempts. Josh Allen only has 759. I think this is way close. When I saw that thing from BetUS and I kind of got down this rabbit hole, I obviously everybody knows Josh Allen's one of the best dual threats we've ever seen. I don't think I ever really honed in on the idea that I really do think there's going to be an argument when he hangs it up that he was, I don't know, man.
Okay. Here's the big thing. I think there's a difference between a dual threat, who is going to be come down to the best dual threat quarterback, and then there's the best rushing quarterback. I think those are two different categories that you got to put it. If I were to put these two together and say, who am I more fearful of with the ball in their hand and they're about to rush the football, elusive, speed, all that good stuff, I'm giving to Lamar Jackson hands down. But a dual threat where I could throw, I could pass, those two are going to go neck and neck. And Josh is going to be right up there. If not one of the best, but right the heck up there. But I don't know if folks see it the same way I do. A rushing quarterback, it's its own department. But a dual threat, you got to figure out if I'm going to pass it, I'm going to throw it. And Josh has surpassed Mike Vick, no question. He's right now, he's writing history now. I think by the time it's done as the dual threat, the best dual threat quarterback, I think is obviously going to be between Lamar and Josh. I think Josh might get it. I don't know. It's going to be, listen, they came to the league at the same time, man. So we're going to let this whole thing play out.
And it's almost, the pace he's on, it's almost unarguable that if Lamar does solidify himself in most people's eyes as the greatest rushing quarterback of all time, Allen's second based on pretty much every considerable metric.
Who's the greatest rushing quarterback of all time right now? And what do we, that's a tough one, man. That's a really good question. I
think you're basing it on the overall idea of the threat of the run.
Yes. And that's how I'm looking at it. Unfortunately, that's how I'm looking at it. But
I totally get it, though.
Dual threat where I'm dropping back and you don't know, you have to spy me. Josh Allen is spied often. So is Lamar. So was Mike Vick. But as for passing, Josh Allen surpasses both of them. No question about it. As a pure passer, but that boy can use his legs. He's just as dangerous. But I don't know. That's a tough question when you really kind of break it down to nuts and bolts. It's a tough question. But I think Lamar will have the edge when it comes to the rushing quarterback. He's just naturally that guy. Naturally, he'll kill you. It's him that decides not to run the football. If he wanted to run the football every freaking time, he would, and he could. And there's not a whole lot of teams could do anything about it.
I know he's got 250 less rushing attempts, double the touchdowns, 2,000 less yards, but 250 less attempts.
Who's this? This is Josh?
Josh compared to Allen.
Yeah.
Or Josh compared to Lamar. Yeah.
Crazy.
I understand arguments on both sides. I just don't think I realized how particularly close it might finish and how far and away Allen will be considered compared to the rest of the greats of the game. Crazy.
That's a fun one. I like that one. And what were the odds? Was there odds on BetUS?
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I thought was crazy too. The idea of him getting 16 touchdowns this year. The odds right now on BetUS are plus 1,400. So he had 15 in 2023. The reason why I think that I love the value on this is because he had 12 this past year, while James Cook also had 16. And 16 is a really high bar to hit again. Do we think James Cook's going to hit 16 again? I don't know. But Allen's coming off of a 15 touchdown year and a 12 touchdown year. Do we not think that Allen could replace 4 of Cook's touchdowns from this year next year? Like, that's where I thought it was interesting. I thought it was really interesting. Once again, it's up on BetUS. There's a box on BetUS. Literally, it says Josh Allen. It's a little box. You can click on it. It's under that, and you can use the promo code YouTube150 on BetUS to get in on that. I don't know. I might take a stab at that one because I think it's not only is it awesome, but I think it's doable.
It's definitely doable. I mean, that's crazy. First of all, 15 rushing touchdowns was amazing. You double that up and get another 12. Remember, we were at the beginning of the year. We were talking about like, yo, do you think he'll have more than 500 yards rushing or not? And that was the debate at the beginning of the year. And I was like, fuck, I think he should have at least 500. And I think he finished with 550, 530.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, didn't it feel like Allen barely ran this year? And he still had 12 rushing touchdowns. And when you go and look at the amount of yards he had on the ground, like looking back on this year, when he had the 15 touchdown year in 2023, like it just felt like he was running it. Like you go to 2022 and 2021, Allen had over 760 yards in both of those years. Allen had more rush yards this year than last year. And it just didn't necessarily feel like it. It didn't feel like that to me. Did it feel like that to you?
Near the end. At the beginning of the year, he was cautiously not running. And I was like, oh, man, I think I might, I'm not going to get that 500 yards. I thought he was at least going to get 550. Dude got 531, but near the end, he started to kind of break open and be the guy that he needed to be. But that's Josh, man. That's why this guy is special, man. We're sitting here watching a Hall of Fame freaking quarterback play for us, man. Absolutely amazing. All right.
It's just moments like that, by the way, when you kind of do a deep dive, when you realize you got to remember who we have.
You got a good one.
You know what I mean?
You got a great one on your hands. I'll tell you. That's why it sucks that we're wasting this man's talents, man. This is where Brandon Beane, I'm watching your ass, bro. You got it. Don't do Josh like that. Don't do him dirty. Don't do that brother dirty, man. He's too good to you. All right. Last segment of the night, folks. And I set my man Bot up. I'm gonna give him 5 players, maybe a 6th bonus player. But I need you to let me know what you would do with these players.
Okay.
And do you let them walk, or do you open your arms and say, "Come on back, we need you"? All right. I'll start with I'll lob this one up to you.
Okay.
I'll kind of give you, and I did this exercise with the chat, and I kind of had some people swayed on this, which that's what the intention was, to have them think about it. All right. Damar Hamlin. Now, before you make a decision on whether you bring him back or not, all right, he's going to be 27 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
He's 4 years in the league, so he's a vet. He knows the ins and outs, right? You know he's resilient. And his market value, if the Bills were to re-sign him, $6 million over 2 years. So you're looking at a $3.1 million to have him on the team for the next 2 years. Now, what if I told you that he is to compete for the starting spot? He is not a slated starter. You will not be the slated starter. You're going to compete for that spot. And regardless, whether you win it or whether you're not, and if you become a depth player, I'll gladly have you as a depth player. But then you go and tell your team, we're bringing Damar Hamlin back because, I mean, is he good enough? Do you feel like he's talented enough to even be on the roster, or can we get better at that position? So knowing what you know, knowing how much it'll cost to bring him back, what the market value is, and the fact that he was a starter all year last year. So if we needed him in a pinch, he could jump in there. Do you bring back Damar Hamlin, or you let that brother walk?
What was the financials again on it?
2 years, $6 million. So you're looking at a $3.1 million yearly annual.
Yeah, I'm signing up for that. No doubt.
No question. You're not even going to bother letting him walk. You don't think you can get better at that position with a young safety, or you feel really good with that because of his vet ability. He's started all year. You like those tangibles.
I think you would want to get better. Obviously, I think you're going to want to upgrade in the secondary in general. I think that the Bills are definitely going to target in on that, probably in the draft, I would imagine. But for $6 million over 2 years, I thought Hamlin was more than serviceable this past year. Like you mentioned, he's been in the building the last 4 years, and this will be the fourth year, or
fourth year. He's already 4 years in.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and for $6 million, even if he is competing for the job, I still like the idea that if he were to get beat out one, that means you probably found somebody, pretty damn good. You would have to think that was probably in the draft, I would imagine. And like Signify just said, for that money, if the worst came to worst and it was backup, I mean, we've seen the injuries that the Bills defense has suffered the last couple of years. I mean, we know all too well that it feels like the injury bug catches the Bills defense far too often. So for all those reasons, yeah, I'm signing up for that.
See, I was on the fence until I talked myself into it to understand, wait a minute, hold on. He has a full season under his belt as a starter and was a capable one. And his best game came against the Baltimore Ravens in that playoff game, in my opinion. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest, but he's serviceable. And the question now remains, can he play special teams? I think he can. And I'm bringing him in. At first, I was like, yo, cut his ass. Let him go, because we can get better talent out there. But for the price and for what he means to the team and all that good stuff, and he could play, why not? Bring him as a depth player. I say yes.
Where did you get that $3 million a year evaluation from?
Yep.
Where'd you get that? Where'd you find the $3 million a year?
Spot Track.
Okay, because I'm just looking at the average salary per year for safeties right now in the league. Like $3 million would be like, he'd be like the 30th highest paid safety in the league.
Peanuts. It's peanuts for that position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% signing up for that.
All right, boom. So you got your depth. Yep. Taylor Rapp
at the work.
Bishop. And you can draft yourself another safety if you need to. Have 4 safeties, call it a day.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Next up, Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson, 28 years of age, 6 years in the league. He got paid $1.2 million last year. The market value is 2 years, $5.3 million. He'd be making $2.7 million a year. Keep in mind, this is not your second string running back. This is your third string running back making $2.7 million a year. You have Ray Davis going into his second year, and potentially you're about to pay James Cook. Maybe, maybe not. And you got Frank Gore Jr. in the wings with a running back class that's a decent class. Do you bring Ty Johnson back knowing that he can give you special teams abilities, third down back, can catch, can pass block, and he's found a niche on this team and can be clutch for Josh? Are you bringing that brother back?
So I guess this will all depend on what you just said, the draft strategy. If they find a guy they like in the draft and go that way, then I would say maybe you consider not retaining Ty Johnson. But then I think about the way that they utilize him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about this whole James Cook situation. It seems like for that money, he serves a purpose that that they enjoy having. Like, there's a reason why Ty Johnson comes in when he does. Like you just said, the offense seems to have trust in him in those short yardage, late down situations. And that's not the back that James Cook is. And when you consider the potential of moving off of James Cook with this contract situation, if it goes south, right, you're not going to want to let a guy like Ty Johnson out the building without an adequate replacement. So the draft strategy, I guess, would play into it. But the way that they utilize Ty Johnson, Rico, I feel like the Bills will find value at that evaluation to keep Ty Johnson on the team.
So you're bringing him back.
Yeah.
All right. So you're 2 for 2 so far. All right, bro. You're just money bags over here. We bringing everybody back.
Well,
here we go.
I'll tell you what, though, for the money, though, like, I'm thinking about it. For $6 million over 2 years, if the very worst that came of that was him being depth, like I mentioned, with the injury history the Bills defense has, and with the way he played last year, I think that's a ton of value. And then with Ty Johnson, I think for that evaluation, considering the James Cook situation, and considering that every one of these running backs on the roster seems to serve a individual purpose that they all do very well at, I think I like it. I think I definitely sign up for it.
I respect it. Here we go. Mack Hollins, receiver, going to be 32 this year. 8 years in the league, has bounced around, was making $2.6 million last year. His market value is a 1-year, $2.4 million deal. This one in the chat this week was an interesting one because we had folks a little unsure. They loved Mack, but then I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna flip it on you, and ask you a question. So number one, it's 2.4 on a 1-year deal. Bring him back on a 1-year deal at 2.4 mil. He led the team in receptions. He's a glue guy in the locker room. He was one of Josh Allen's reliable targets. Do you bring Mack Hollins back at 1 year, 2.4 mil?
Instant yes.
Okay, stop right there. Mack Hollins says, I'm worth more than that. I want a long-term deal. I want to retire as a Bill. I want 15 mil.
What?
Over 3 years. Can we do it?
No. And there's no way he's doing it.
Which is fine. I asked that question. So then what if he says, give me about 10 mil over 3 years?
No, because I don't think he's playing for 3 more years.
He's 32 years old.
He's going into what? So he's going into what? He's
31 right now. He's 31 right now. He'll be 32.
What's he going into? His 10th year or 11th year?
8th. He's in 8th year. He's going to his 9th year.
Oh, he's going into his 9th year.
Correct.
So, I'm sorry. I meant to say, what would he be going into at the end of that contract? So it would be his 12th year. At the end of it,
he'll be going into his 11th year, if you will.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
Right?
I wouldn't sign. No, I wouldn't sign Mack Hollins to a 3-year deal. I just don't think that. I don't know. I don't even know if he'll be playing in 3 years.
So you're bringing back but he doesn't want to come back on a 1-year deal. He wants to end his season with the Bills. I don't want to go anywhere else. Let's make it right. I'm a glue guy. You love me. The Bills fans love me. Let's get a long-term deal done. Good enough for me to stick around. 9 mil. 3 years, 9 mil.
No, I'm not signing Mack Hollins to a 3-year deal.
You can void the 3rd year. It really becomes.
You can void the third. Okay.
Let's just say he voids the 3rd year.
So
the 3rd year, you know how.
So that would mean what? You could do 2 years on 2 years, 3 mil.
Whatever you want. What do you feel he's worth? That's what I want to know. Because right now, market value says 2.4 mil. So he's got 2.5 1 year. So let's just say, you know what? 6 mil, 2 years.
Here's how I look at it. If I'm Beane, I would just say, look, Mac, we love you. I mean, you were. I just love Mack Hollins. I love him. But if I'm being business forward here, because that's the name of the game. I mean, that's his job.
Right.
I'd be like, Mac, we love you. but this is your fourth team in 4 years. The idea of you going into your 9th year, signing a 3-year extension after you just rotated 4 years with 4 different teams, with us looking at where we're currently at, where you're currently at in your career, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. No.
Just let me listen. I want 2 years back with you guys. 2 years, $6 million. Call it a day. 3 years this year, 3 years next year. It's a little bit more than what I was going to get. Market value at $2.4 million. 2 years, $6 million.
Or what? He walks?
I want to stay with you because I don't want to walk. If you want to give me the 1 year deal, I guess. I mean, I don't know how these negotiations work, but he wants to stay.
Oh, we're playing. Oh, I didn't even realize we're in GM Simulator right now.
Somewhat like that.
Yeah.
This one's because I got a few more to give you, but this is what we're sitting at.
You know what? So it would either be another 1 year deal at $2.5 million, or the 2 years for $6 million, which he's like basically saying, I really, really want this. Like he's pounding the table.
He wants to retire a bill. That's it.
You know what? There's something about Mack
Josh Allen
Hollins.
says, "Hey, Beane, bring him back, man."
Here's how I see it. If Beane wanted to take him back in for 1 year, 2.5, and Mack Hollins is saying, I really want to retire a bill. I want 2 years and I want
5.5, maybe 6. I said it to even it out at 6, $3 million.
Well, my point here was going to be, I think Hollins would have a little bit of leverage there. If he wanted an additional year and an additional $500,000 a year, he could just say, look, I had 20 more receptions with the Bills than I did with Atlanta. I had over 100 more yards, and I had a career high in touchdowns. So not only did he lead, did you say he led in?
He led the team. He led our team in receiving touchdowns.
Right. So not only did he lead the team in receiving touchdowns, that was a career high in receiving touchdowns. So I think for him, the leverage could be, I'm not asking for much here. I'm only asking for an additional year and an additional $500,000 a year. I wouldn't shut the door on that if I'm Beane. I think that I love Mack Hollins. And if I wouldn't, to me, that would be losing a guy over something that I don't think disadvantages either guy.
I'm not even thinking twice about it. I'm signing him to long-term deal. He was reliable. Josh liked him. And when he got on the field, he did the job. 2 years, 2.2 years, $6 million, bring him back to the squad.
2 years, $6 million, no doubt. I'm all in.
And then have it incentivized where, I mean, first year guaranteed, whatever. Second year, let's talk about if you get your points will hit. So you're bringing Mack Hollins back because you said it immediately. If he pushes back, you're still bringing it back, but at a decent deal.
If the pushback was for an additional year and an additional $500,000 from last year, I think he earned an additional $500,000 from last year's contract. So yeah, I'm in. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, man. You're 3 for 3. You brought back Damar. You brought back Ty Johnson. You brought back Mack Hollins. Here we go.
Yep.
Rasul Douglas, 30. Going to be 31, 8 years in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He was making $7 million last year. His market value is at 3 years, $35 million, making $11.9 million a year for your cornerback 2, Rasul Douglas. Here's the deal with Rasul. You got a veteran guy. He knows the scheme. He'd be going to his 3rd year. He's a zone guy. You brought him there because he's around the football, and he's become a vet on the squad, a trusted vet. And the guys like him. You can see it in the videos and all that stuff. There's a respect for him. But skill-wise, do you see the value in it? Now, if you go around the league, he might be able to start for another team right now. He could definitely be cornerback 2 somewhere. I'm sure multiple places. At that price, at 11.9, when some corners are making, upwards of, 17, 18, 19, 20 in the 20s, 11.9 doesn't seem so bad. 11.9 mil a year for Rasul Douglas on a 3-year deal, 35 mil.
Can't do it. So last year, Rasul Douglas, let's think about it based on what we got out of him last year and what he would want coming his way this year. So last year, Rasul Douglas, where are we at here? Last year, Rasul Douglas was less than a $3.5 million cap hit. Do we feel like Rasul Douglas played his way into an additional $8 million a year this past year? I don't think so. And like you said, at 30 years old as well, I don't see where I'm getting. I don't see where that is advantageous for Buffalo. An additional $8 million at that age, based on the production last year at $3.5 million. I'm not signing up for that.
So you're out. You're not even consideration. No consideration into see, okay, where does he fit? Where could I?
Not for that price.
So now you have a vacancy at corner.
And that's the thing. I think that corner to me it's got to be of top priority for being this offseason. So I think that that's already being factored in here.
Would you take a corner over someone in the trenches?
Like in the draft?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll talk on that draft stuff later. I just want to hear your thoughts. All right. Last but not least.
It's unfortunately, it's more of a necessity.
Yep. I hear it because now you have a void. Amari Cooper, 30 years old, going to be 31, 10 years in the league, going into year 11. He was making $20 million last year. The market value for Amari Cooper is at 2 years, $28.4 million, giving him $14.2 million a year on a 2-year deal at age 30, going to be 31. You saw what he was able to do last year with limited time. Then he got hurt. So there was never really much time for him to get acclimated with Josh in the offense, so on and so forth. But while on the field, whether you want to call him that he took away, he did whatever, but when he was on the field, the team scored 7 more points a game or something of that nature. It was 7 more points a game.
They lost one regular season game after acquiring him.
One regular season. They went on a run. He didn't have a full offseason with Josh. He came in halfway through the season, then hurt his wrist, and saying all the right things in the media. So his head is correct. He's not a diva, et cetera, et cetera. He's asking 2 years, $28 million, $14 million, while guys are going to be getting paid $35, 40, 25. I'm asking for $10 million less than the franchise. $14 million to come back to the Bills, give me a full offseason with Josh. Let's run this thing back. Me, Keon, Curtis Samuel, Mack Hollins, because you brought him back, Khalil Shakir. Let's run it back. Doug Kincaid, offense is intact. James Cook might be back. He'll be back. Let's run it back. Let's not change anything on the offense. Let's roll. $14.2 million. What do you say? Let me walk or bring me back?
Man, this is a tough one because I was big on the idea that the value of Amari Cooper was more than met the eye last year. You know what I mean? The production in terms of the numbers, if you were to just look at the stats, there's no way that you could sit here and even justify considering a contract like this, right? But it felt like the presence that he brought was able to add something to this offense that they desperately needed. They did not have a guy that you felt threatened by or at least had to respect. And once they added that, it did feel like it uncovered an additional element that this team needed. And I think that's why they'd go on that insane run of scoring 30 consecutive, and they'd lose only one game in the regular season with their starters when they added him. But think about the value that's value that you got from him paying him next to nothing, right? You paid him next to nothing. Is the value of that worth, what did you say, $14 million a year?
14 mil, 14.2 mil.
Can't do it.
Not even if you give me a full offseason conditioning. I was a Pro Bowler last year. I was number 70 on the top 100 list just last year. 14 mil? That's a fraction of whatever else is getting paid.
For what you got out of him last year, for what you ended up giving up for him, it was perfect. The stars aligned. What you got out of him for what you gave up, it was perfect. But consider what you got out of him for $14 million a year. Then does it seem like it was the value that it seemed this past year? No. There's definitely a correlation between the value you get out of a guy and like say you get the same amount of value for $1 amount and another dollar amount, all of a sudden the value on the field doesn't seem as valuable anymore. The additional element that he brought for what they gave up, I just think it was lights out, home run, even though the numbers don't show it. There's no way for $14 million. I think that additional element is the asking price, is basically how I see it.
So you're letting him walk?
Yeah. For $14 million a year, I have to.
Listen, listen, that same idea was being tossed around in the chat. And I said I'd bring him back, but I still drafted a receiver. The reason I said it, because that price, a full off season, you got to give him an opportunity to really get it right. But then you're taking a big risk by giving him 14 mil when you can get a young, fresh wide receiver ready to come out of the draft. And there's some good ones coming out. So, and that's unfortunately the nature of the game, but you don't want to, it is what it is. If you make the decision to let him walk, whether he has success elsewhere or he falls off the cliff, you got to live with that decision. I was ready to bring him back, but I'm also excited to try to bring someone that is young, fresh, and can stretch the field. Stretching the field is something we absolutely need. We don't have. And can he stretch the field? No. It was evident he couldn't stretch the field. Just was not happening. But maybe we're all wrong. He just needs an offseason to get himself conditioned and go from there. But I agree with how you thought about it and how you want to put it out there. So if you're going to let him walk, let him walk. It's just what it is, man.
I have to at that dollar amount. Also, I ask you this. If the Bills walked away at that dollar amount, do you see another team signing up for $14 million on Amari Cooper? You do.
Probably. You got a veteran receiver that can come in and get a whole offseason and just, you got to know who he is, man. He's an Alabama product. The real question is, did he fall off? Did he actually fall off? Or was it just the circumstances? New team, halfway through the season, no off season, I got hurt. Are those the circumstances? By the way, Walter says you give Cooper 14 mil and Hollins and I'm Hollins. My price tag just went up. Hollins like, yo, you paying Amari Cooper 14? Bro, you might as well just pay me more. I'm only a year older than this brother, man. But the same age. I'm a year older.
So his first game was the Titans game, right?
Titans game.
So the whole idea of this, like the new team thing, that was only he joined the team the 7th game of the regular season. So he played nearly 3/4 of the season. So the whole idea that was a deterring factor, I'm not buying. Now you do have to factor in the injury as well when you're considering that dollar amount.
And that's what got him not on the field, because he didn't really play with Josh a lot. And when he did get on the field, he was still playing with a broken hand. So just think, my man said MVS did more with Cooper. I don't know if we did. I don't know if MVS did more. I think MVS was less than that. But anyway, I could be wrong. But yeah, man, where do
you find the fair market? Where's the fair market value that you're finding, by the way? I love this.
So you go to your spot rec and you go to the contracts or managing the team or something like that. And then you can see to the far right, you'll see your market value.
You pay for it? It asks me to sign in or sign up.
No. You ain't got to pay for all that nonsense.
I go to hit manage contract and there's a little lock on it, and I click on it and it makes me sign in.
And this spot track is doing that mess.
Show me your screen. Let me see how it looks.
I'm about to show the screen right now. Yeah, why are they hating on you today, bro?
I don't know. I got my ass
on my screen. Oh, where's my screen at? Is it my screen? Is that my screen?
I see it, yeah.
All right. So where did I go to? I went to where did I go last time? I think it was just the cap. Was it the cap I went to? And did I scroll on over? No, that wasn't it. Where did I go last time? Or was it managed roster? It couldn't have been managed roster. Where the heck did I go? Maybe it was the contracts.
Okay. You go to I see. You go to what do you hit? Sign free agents. So I think you click sign free.
Yeah, because you can go to your squad and you can start looking at. You start looking at your guys by position or whatever.
So you said the actually, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to find it.
Go to free agents. You just got to go to the free agents. So if you see it here, so I went to free agents at the top, and there's free agents. Anyway, so there's Mack, and did you want to see Amari Cooper's?
Wait, show me where you. Oh, I see it. Free agents. Yeah, I just wanted to see where you found the fair market, like where you're finding the fair market value.
Market value right here to the far right.
Oh, that's perfect.
So everything is right there for you. It gives you the age, gives you all that stuff what you need to know.
Yeah,
and there it is. Right, it gives you even the comparables. Anyway, you kind of catch where I'm going with this. So listen. At the end of the day, this is what you've done. You brought back Damar, you brought back Ty, you brought back Mack Hollins, and you let Rasul Douglas and Amari Cooper go. If people are watching your moves and they say, "What? Brandon Beane bought Damar, Ty, and Mack and let Rasul and Amari Cooper go," you'd have some people saying, "Huh?" Funny enough, you would.
Well,
you brought Damar Hamlin back, but then they don't realize you're bringing them back for depth.
Or you don't realize what you're paying the 3 guys you brought back and what you would have to pay the 2 guys you didn't bring back.
There you go. But some people, they're never happy. They're never happy. But I'll still be watching what Brandon Beane does. I'll still be watching. But anyway,
I just think for that 14 mil for Cooper, I think you could spread it around and go and get another guy, not maybe as good as Cooper, but I think you're still kind of getting the similar role that he was playing, which was essentially one more respectable element that you have to game plan around for Allen that allows them to open up the offense more than they had without him and simply relying on a rookie and Khalil Shakir in the slot.
Well, and guess what? Market value for Hollywood Brown, $8 million over 2 years.
There you go. That's how you're switching the money up. So I wonder,
so $8 million, you get $16 million for this guy. You save yourself $10 million. Shoot, why not? Let's roll.
So Chad's saying he's glad we got Beane because I couldn't fill in. I'm wondering though, for those who disagree with, what would you do in the situation if you were in the boat of wanting Douglas or Cooper back? What would you have done in order to make it happen? Would you sign those deals that Rico offered, or you got something else in mind? Like, I wonder, like, what would you bring Cooper back for? What would be the number that you would like? So wait, you said you would bring him back at 14?
I thought about it, but then I try to work him down. Probably try to work him on the 20 mil. And then I could deal with that.
Right.
But the question is he ready to take that role? I'm like, nah, man, I'm way better than that. You're not doing that to me. And that some folks might look at it that way.
Keenan Allen's got
neither here nor there.
Keenan Allen's got a market value of 11. So if
most folks might pay Keenan Allen. He's a great route runner.
No, but I'm just saying. So you said Hollywood Brown for 8, Keenan Allen for 11. If you could find a way to somehow get both those guys for 17 total, $3 extra million, you'd get both those guys in the building over Cooper. See, this is where I think saving that 14 million, you could spread it around. Yeah,
there's a whole lot of things you can do. So that's why I love that free agency is around the corner. So it kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of dive deep. But yeah, man, that's the end of the gist of it. Golly, I did not expect for us to pot it up for damn near 4 hours, but here we are.
I didn't either, man. I didn't either. Yet again, though, Rico, we really should expect it because when's the last time we haven't done it? That's the thing. When's the last time we haven't touched down on at least 3?
We have to be disciplined. Anyway, the fact that the most of y'all stood around and hung out with us, much love to y'all. Y'all deserve that because you gotta love it. You gotta love it. So, first of all, shout out to everybody tuned in that you guys watched this whole thing with us. We appreciate y'all very much so. And we have one last thing. But Walter said this earlier. How are we going to improve on the defense if we keep extending every player that comes on the defense? I saw this earlier. We were talking about Bernard and Benford. I don't think we're going to extend everybody on the defense, but we have to consciously make a decision on who we're going to bring in, the key young core players. It might be Rousseau, Bernard, Benford, and then the rest can do what they do. But we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out in the end. But you have any last words before we take off, brother?
hell of a show tonight. We, like you just mentioned, I'll reiterate, appreciate everybody rocking with us. The numbers only seem to go up as we went longer. We had nearly 1,100 of you in the building all throughout this Friday evening, 3 hours, 40 in the books. And man, was there a topic we didn't touch down on tonight? It was great. Great.
We'll touch more on this one later, but that Javon Holland one is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'll say real quick. I talked to my man Kevin. You guys remember Papa Peck Kevin? Kevin's like, you do not want Javon Holland, man. He just fell off at the end of the year. Didn't want to tackle, but it was all business decisions. I think he was preparing himself for free agency. Maybe he'll be great, but he may not fit schematically for you guys. That's what his thoughts were, but we'll see how that all shakes out at the end of the day. But anyway, you were saying, Bot?
You nailed it. We'll have plenty of more conversations like this coming down the pipeline. We got free agency opening up in a little, what is it, about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks maybe. And then before you know it, it'll be the draft. So plenty coming your way. But in the meantime, we appreciate you hanging tonight. We nailed on every topic you could possibly imagine, and it was a ball doing it. You guys in the chat really added to the convo tonight too. Really appreciate every single one of you, and hope you have a terrific rest of your weekend. What do we got here? Telling you what, listen, that brim ain't bent enough unless it's touching your eyebrows. That's my threshold.
That's it, buddy.
That's my measuring stick. If the top of the cap ain't touching the eyebrows, you ain't part of the bet. You can't rock the bent brim like Bot. Pretty much the only way to put it.
You got it, man. So listen, we appreciate y'all. It's not easy to hang out and sit in your chair on your couch and just listen to this all night. We gave you some good laughs in the middle. And this is why I love this show, because it ain't always got to be about football. We can kind of deviate a little bit and come back a little bit. And we were able to listen. We touched on hockey, basketball. You know what I'm saying? Men's insecurities.
As always.
Stanfield, the whole shebang.
All of it. All of it. All of it in a bag of chips, man. Appreciate it. Everyone who tuned in, nearly 4 hours in the books, on the way out the door. Like button if you could. Subscribe button if you could.
Yes,
and
sir.
Once again, let us know your thoughts in the comments after the show about the whole idea. And I might touch on this a bit more later on in the weekend, because I'm really interested. This whole idea of the way we're going to look back on Allen in terms of the rushing, that's super interesting to me. Yeah, if you want to get in on this, because I'm telling you, I love this. Once again, over on BetUS, plus 1,400, Josh Allen to break his own individual rushing record of 15 touchdowns in a single season. It's over on BetUS. The promo code is YouTube150. 150% sign up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit. 125% bonus on your next two after that. So once again, appreciate you all. Much love. Like button if you could. Subscribe button if you could. Head on over to BetUS and get in on Allen breaking his own record next year. Rico, anything else from you?
Listen, man, that's it for us. Like I said, folks, I'll be here Tuesday, but then you won't see me Friday. So, Bot, you might be going solo dolo on Friday, because I'll be back in my hometown for the funeral of my granny, and then I think I'll be there for a week with Mom. So you probably won't see me for a week or so, and then I'll be back probably at the end of next week. So Bot and I will probably get together then.
No doubt. No doubt. We'll hold down the fort for now. In the meantime, though, thanks so much as always. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Love each and every one of you. We'll talk soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.